be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm ready to die, but not for a lie. See the signs appear, it's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snitker and Adrian Wiley on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, the entire state of New Hampshire. We'll go to New Hampshire today, right?
Wow, you never go to New Hampshire.
We'll go to New Hampshire today. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. Along with me is a woman that is, a pretty good maker of stuffing. I do consider myself a little bit of a stuffing connoisseur, and
you liked mine.
And I liked it. I liked it a lot.
That's why you had 3 helpings.
That's why I had a couple helpings of it. Yes, that's
over
right.
the course of the whole day.
Yes. Danielle Alexandria, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. A little full still from yesterday, but doing well.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it very much so. Also, working over there very, very hard at trying to make sure that the show is running at its optimum capacity. He's known as Libertarian Greg, or Knobs, or Tiger, or Schnugens, and is wearing the Schnugens shirt again today. Very nice on your part.
We need to put up a poll on what name. We should have can we do a fill in the blank poll on let's give Greg another name this week.
A weekly nickname for me.
Yeah,
chosen by the listeners.
Chosen by the listeners.
All right, I can do that. I guess we could do that.
I'm a little scared of that prospect, but
He's a little scared.
I'm willing to play along.
He's willing to play along, folks. He's willing to play along. Greg Bowen, how are you doing?
Spectacular.
That's good to hear, man. Good to hear that you're doing spectacular. I have nothing more to add to this.
Are you still in your Thanksgiving stuffing coma?
Well, no. I'm not really in the Thanksgiving stuffing coma at this moment. What I'm actually in is how can I find the phone number for the gentleman we're going to be speaking to at 9:30 mode right now.
Well,
so
did you do it on Facebook?
I'm trying to think on how I sent it over via email, so
I didn't get one.
I don't know what's going on. Then that's not good news. Actually.
I'm not having any email.
I'm not having any email, huh?
Well, look in your Gmail for the number.
Well, I tried that already. And also for everybody here, welcome to the Black Friday edition.
Yes.
Of the Liberty Underground show.
I love waking up on Black Friday not at 3 a.m. And not in the middle of a crowd. Just kind of waking up with a full belly at 8:30, and realizing I didn't have to go out there in the cold, and then look on the news and I don't really laugh because it's not funny, but it is a little funny that what you see every Black Friday is reports of violence and mayhem.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful that the day after we spend the day giving thanks for everything that we have, we then go out and trample each other for everything we don't have.
This is the first story I get, and the line says, the early start to this year's shopping mayhem did not prevent several reported violent confrontations at stores. Now, we could have loud or, violent is a strong word. I've gotten into, altercations with someone or, you get a little loud because, someone cut you off or something. But nobody would call that violent. The fact that they actually say several reported, not confrontations, but violent confrontations at stores is just crazy. Christmas gifts aren't worth this much, people. They really aren't.
Apparently they are. Years ago, I worked at Toys R Us, and during Black Friday, I actually saw violence. I saw women beating each other up over holiday Barbies and stuff. It's so weird.
Actually, my youngest son, yesterday was talking about, are you going shopping on Black Friday? And So I was like, no, I used to do that a long time ago, but I don't do it anymore. And he was like, why? And I'm like, well, you remember Auntie Kelly, who's my sister? My sister's name is Kelly. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you know how nice and sweet she is, and she really doesn't like to argue. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, she's not that person on Black Friday. She's the one yelling and screaming and getting into fights, and I just don't like to get into fights on the day that I go shopping.
You know what the problem is with Black Friday? It's not like you can just go to the store and go get a couple deals and come home. It's like a huge thing.
Right.
Like it's this big. I'm going to get into a brawl with somebody, and people are preparing. Like moms and grandmas who really probably are nice most of the rest of the year turn into just these evil people on one day of the year to try to get, a computer for $30 or something, which is, they got some good deals on
Yeah.
Black Friday, but
They had a tablet for $49, which was actually a really good deal. But it's one of those. And the last time I did go out, I went with my sister and my mom. So this is, years and years ago, probably almost, 9 or 10 years ago. And a store, I think it was Sears, and they had something really cheap. It was some, kitchen appliances that we wanted to get. And so they had them really cheap. But we were standing out there, and I think they were supposed to open at 5 a.m. And we were at the back entrance where the front entrance opened at 5 a.m. because that's where my mom was. And we were at the back entrance. And at 5:06, they still hadn't opened. And my sister went ballistic because she saw some people in the back in their coffee break. And she's screaming at them. And curse words are flying and, and she's a preschool teacher. Like, this is normally someone who, when, you say something, she'll go, oh, that's sad. You're not making good choices. And that's how she talks to the adults. So she's, screaming with the F word, like, get off your asses and get the doors open. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to come out and do this again. Like women lose their minds to get something cheaper. And I get it. Like, if you're on a budget, it's nice to be able to save the money. But it's not worth screaming at someone over or getting into a violent confrontation. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's like, well, I need to get my, I can get my Christmas shopping done really cheap. Like, Christmas is generally, we could all agree it's generally a Christian holiday. People celebrate Hanukkah, but Christmas itself is a Christian holiday. It's like the birth of Jesus means that you kill people in a store for gifts. Like, how does that make sense?
yeah, they've taken, like with many things though, they've taken the whole thought of, and you're right, it is ironic that the day after you're supposed to be giving thanks for all the stuff you got, you end up fighting for the stuff you don't got.
You're killing people for stuff that you don't have to celebrate a holiday that's supposed to be about, peace and love.
Yeah.
Yeah. A holiday that celebrates a guy that told you to sell everything you
To
have.
love each other.
Yeah.
On more than one occasion in that book, he told people to sell everything they own.
Yeah.
The irony of it all just doesn't stop.
The irony is very rich. It is funny though, and is one of the reasons I do enjoy being on Tan Talk 1340 AM in the mornings. Well, I know hour number one's not, but I love being on there because we always are on Friday. So there's always it's always Black Friday.
Right.
And because more people will listen on Black Friday, even though after we tell them what they're doing is pretty much useless, that they probably turn off at that point. But some of them actually want to hear it because as they're going, yeah, we shouldn't do this, they're standing in line.
Yeah.
And it's getting earlier and earlier. Like people are we're standing in line at Best Buy
Last week?
Yeah, last week for this Thursday stuff. And you know something? And this is going to sound very cold and heartless, and I don't care. I'm glad it was freezing cold the other night. I'm glad it was. You know why? Because if you're standing in line a week before at a freaking Best Buy, first off, get a job. All right? You need some kind of a career. So please go ahead and find one. And the second one is that if you want to sit there for days like that, you know what? I'm glad it's going to be cold one of those nights. You dumbass. What are you thinking? Who's got that much time? There's no way I could even fathom. I guess I could go the night before if I really, really wanted to.
Maybe, if the, after every dinners done and we have all the kitchen. I mean, because we were pretty much playing cards, just enjoying each other's time at like 9 o'clock. But if we weren't doing that, if we were just going to sit around and at 9 o'clock we wanted to get in line because we could get a good deal, I don't see a big issue with that. It's the confrontations that happen in these stores with people that I just find over the top.
Yeah. No, and that's true. But it's. I'm glad I'm no part of it. To be honest with you, I really am.
I'm glad we're here.
Yeah.
And not out there.
And not out there.
It's dangerous out there.
It's awesome though
It's safe in
because
here.
there is no traffic. I made record time here this morning.
Oh, really?
I left my house late. I left at 8 o'clock, and which is what I did like a couple weeks ago when I was late.
And you got here
And
right.
I got here like right before the show started. And you saw what time I got here. I got here a half hour before the show was starting, leaving at the same time. It's because there is no one out there. It's like the zombie apocalypse. It really is. And you look at the stores, and it is like the zombie apocalypse. See people shuffling slowly in line.
Basket tablet.
We. So yeah, it was awesome because there was no traffic on the roads. I hit one red light the whole way. It was awesome. I love it. Let's do this every Friday.
Yeah. I wish every Friday was Black Friday for Greg. Then. All right, there we go. All right, maybe we should embrace it then. Everybody go out shopping on Friday morning.
Go shopping every
Friday morning.
Go go fight over stuff that you don't need.
Just make sure that you know your dealer. That's all I'm saying.
I have to say, and I know that I have this for hour 3, but I am thankful today for Trey Radel for just providing more and more entertainment for me all week long. And to know the I think we're still going to leave it. We'll just tease it. Anyone who's listening, you need to listen to hour 3 to actually hear the insanity that is now coming from Trey Radel and all of his excuses on why he's a cokehead.
Yeah, like dude, you should retire or like get out of that office now. And I'm not even telling you to leave because of what you did. I'm telling you what you leave because you have no crisis management ability whatsoever.
Yeah. You made it clear you don't belong in office.
Dude blamed Obamacare.
No, stop.
Oh.
We're talking about it hour 3. What are you?
The best part is, though, my mother-in-law came up for Thanksgiving yesterday.
Yeah.
She lives in his district. So we had some great conversations about that yesterday.
I mean, it's just every time I see a report when Trey Radel speaks, I'm like, oh, this is great. Oh, you should just let him keep talking. Like, he could replace Leno.
There's a degree of that, but then there's also a degree where I'm sitting there going, please shut up. Stop talking. Stop talking. I'm embarrassed for you. Stop talking.
Like when your kids keep saying something completely inappropriate in the middle of a public place and you just like want to do everything you can to like stop their mouth, like just stop.
Yes.
That's Trey Radel. Trey Radel. Unbelievable, by the way. But you know what? We got to get into this because we talked a little bit about this on the Wednesday show, but it's probably better if we bring it up at this show because this one actually is a very important issue. While you're taking your dollars and trading them in for parts for things from China, it is funny that it's Black Friday that we bring this up as well.
No, I thought it was apropos.
Because most of the stuff that you're going to go and buy is probably from China, right?
Right.
Well, China has taken a look at our dollar and has said, you know what? I don't really think we really want to deal with you anymore. So they announced that they're going to stop stockpiling U.S. dollars.
Yes. And for people who don't know, basically you have to trade oil in dollars and things like that. And the U.S. actually, even though it is artificially pumped up, the U.S. has a strong dollar compared to a lot of other countries. And just like the stock market, the money market is very similar, where you will buy, and countries do this, will buy other countries' currency and trade it on it's almost like a stock market, but it's just for currency. And the U.S. dollar is generally the one that's traded or stockpiled. It's like if you have a good stock, you hold on to it because it's going to keep or at least stay in value or go up. A lot of countries stockpile the dollar. China's saying that they're no longer going to do that. It says what they've said is it's no longer in China's favor to accumulate foreign exchange reserves, which means the U.S. dollar. They're basically not going to hold our dollar anymore. And You know, and a lot of people get confused with China stockpiling our dollar, with China buying our debt. China stopped buying our debt in large amounts actually in 2011. It's actually the story came out in November of 2011 that the amount of China buying our debt has actually been, I mean, literally on like a complete just avalanche decline. And they're not really buying it. They haven't been, and that was in 2010 that they were buying almost nothing. It's even less today. They stopped buying our debt a few years ago. But what you were hearing about China propping up our economy is because they were still stockpiling our dollar. And even though the dollar, technically a Federal Reserve note, which is your dollar, is debt, it is considered debt, they weren't buying they weren't giving us any more loans. They were just stockpiling our dollar, which was what was keeping our economy kind of at a level pace. They're not going to do that anymore. So this is actually a very, very big deal for our economy, for a country as strong as China to not be holding our dollar anymore.
Yeah, this is another one of those. What you're seeing, at least in maybe my opinion, and I'm sure others, is a slow. And I thought it was going to be much quicker than this, but it's a slow movement away from the dollar, and people are starting to either trade with their own currency or they're making their own deals, and the deals do not include the United States. Mm-hmm. And if that trend continues, the only thing that the dollar was propped up on, because it's not propped up on gold or silver, is the good faith and credit of the United States government.
Right.
And this is where the funny part, I don't say funny part, but the strange part comes into play here. A lot of people will argue that, and you'll see it on mainstream TV, is that right now the reason that people aren't liking the dollar is because of the instability within the government, where because they don't know when they're going to raise the debt ceiling or don't know if they're going to raise the debt ceiling, that's causing the problem with the other country and the dollar. But in all reality, that's not even close to what the
Right.
truth is. And the truth is that it's because these other countries are seeing that we're unwilling to do what is necessary to curb our own spending is the reason that you have these countries doing what they're doing with our dollar. So what the media says and what reality is two different things entirely. And it's sad because if the American people started to understand that a little bit more, like this is one of those times where if they told the truth, it would actually help not only our cause, but the cause of the country, that they're lying to these people and doing a disservice to the country by telling these lies. And because they'll say, because then people will go, wow, we wouldn't have lost our credit rating had it not been for the Republicans not getting the debt ceiling done in time. That ain't even close to true, man. That ain't even close to the truth, man. It's that once they make the deal, they see that, well, both sides are unwilling to do anything about this, so we're going down. And that's sad, but it's going to have to happen. I mean, honestly, do you see these people changing in Washington, D.C.? I mean, at all?
No. And what's more scary is not only are they not stockpiling our dollar, but they're trying to make... The reason why oil is traded in U.S. dollars is because the U.S. was the number one importer of oil. And we actually were importing way more than we needed. And the reason why is if we always stay the number one importer, you have to trade in what we want to trade with. Mm-hmm. So we have to that's how we kept our dollar propped up. You have to trade oil in dollars because if you want our business, that's the only thing we'll do. And that kept our dollar artificially inflated. China is now importing more of the world's oil than we are. They are now the number one importer. And what they're trying to broker a deal on the futures exchange for petrol is to actually have it traded in yen. Mm-hmm. And because they are now the number one importer, they overtook us, I think, in September. The world would have to start trading for oil in yen. And what that's going to do is devastate our dollar. I mean, it's really going to, not that our dollar has that much value at all, but the artificial, propping up of our dollar is going to be gone because you will not be trading for oil in the U.S. dollars. We will not hold the petrodollar. China will.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we are, I'd say we're quickly in a lot of trouble, but you know what? If you can trade some of them ferns, which is someone so lovingly calls them.
Senator Burdickis. we
Senator
could say that,
Burdickis calls
yeah.
them. If you're willing to trade those for a computer from China, then go with it. And look, this is where my little nationalistic side will come into play here, and that is, look, what we really should be doing is buying American, but even more importantly, buying as
Buying local.
buying as local as possible, and they're not having Black Friday sales on the local stuff. You know, that's not one of those black. I mean, I'm sure somebody's trying to do a Black Friday
There's
sale, but
many small businesses that do run Black Friday sales, but not even close to they can't afford to give you the amount of money off on their product as someone like Walmart can, who has, you know, 1 million products in their store. So they give you 10 of them at an extreme discount so that you'll buy the other ones where they make money on.
Exactly. A lot of these things you're seeing on sale today on Black Friday, these retailers are selling at a loss.
Oh, yes.
They're making zero profit. They're
Yeah,
actually
they're
losing
losing
money
money.
on a lot of those deals. But they're banking on the fact that once you're in the store to buy those, that you'll spend money on other things.
Right.
And people do. I mean, it works. That's why they do
works.
it.
It's called a loss leader. And even in the restaurant business, if you do any management of like fast food and everything, you have a loss leader. Your dollar menu is a loss leader. You absolutely lose money on everything on the dollar menu. But when they go in there, what you don't put on there is like fries or a drink or something where you know someone's going to buy it. They buy it at the other rate that gives you enough profit to pay for all of it and have a profit. So you have a loss leader on the menu because that's what brings the people in. And that's what they do on Black Friday. You have these, 10 or 15 items that you lose a tremendous amount of money on. But because people are there and they feel like they've saved so much on those items, they're willing to buy other items that they wouldn't normally buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that requires batteries is on sale, and batteries are not on sale.
Right.
That's the trick.
That is it. You're paying full price for batteries. They may have bumped it up last week.
Yeah,
and you didn't
you're probably
notice.
paying $2 more for batteries today.
yeah, it's sad though. It really is. It's sad, but the other thing right now is in this holiday season that you're going to be running into. I remember hearing the story about how they were trying to give their grassroots supporters, the people that like Obamacare, talking points in which to going into Thanksgiving dinner. And I thought that was pretty funny as well, where they were giving them like the Obamacare talking points of like how, the plan is, the website's not the plan, and, the real plan's working great, and all this other stuff. And I really did find it funny. I actually thought it was a little rude because I'm considering a lot of these people, when they lose their plans, first off, you don't want to be normally doing too much politicking during the Thanksgiving dinner. And if you're going to talk about something as widely unpopular as the Obamacare plan, I think you might have the fear of somebody getting killed.
Right. It'd be a Thanksgiving violent
Yeah.
confrontation.
Thanksgiving violence. Now, and again, look, for Thanksgiving, I don't say anything about, I don't go to the thing and talk about politics either. So I'm not in there saying that the real solution is to get the government out of the way and all this other kind of stuff. So I didn't bring any of that stuff up. And nobody brought it up the other way when I was at my mom's house.
Right. When we were over there, everybody was
But I got to tell you,
non-political.
yeah, but I got to tell you though, if somebody would have said something though, boy, I'd have lost it. I really would have lost it. I've been like, okay, we're not talking about this right here. you got 1 second to turn this conversation somewhere else. You better go to sports, like the Green Bay's on today. You better talk about that game or do something else, because we ain't talking about this.
Well, that is always the nice thing, is there was football on, so there was no political talk at your mom's house.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, ooh, football.
Ooh, it's football. Actually, it was a good game though. I like
was
seeing
a good
Detroit win.
game.
So that was always fun to see. Watching Detroit win, because the Bucks beat Detroit last week. Now the Detroit beat Green Bay.
Yeah.
Bucks are on a roll, like 3 games in a row, man. It's amazing. I wish I cared. I totally wish I cared. It'd be so nice if I actually cared.
And tomorrow is the Florida State Gator game.
Not a chance. Gators have no shot.
They have
whatsoever.
I'm so sad because I'm pre-sad for the loss of tomorrow for my Gators.
I'm so glad I don't care. I'm so glad I don't care.
I am in my pre-sad phase because I know it's just going to be like a slaughter tomorrow.
This will be the first time I've ever watched a Florida Gator game playing FSU knowing that the Gators are going to get killed, and I don't care. Like, I don't even care a little bit, man. I just don't. I just don't
We'll
care.
be going down to help Lucas tomorrow, but I'm hoping that I can bring a computer and at least see the live stream of the game. I don't want to miss the... You know, it's like, even though you know, like, your team is going to significantly lose by a lot.
What time is that game?
I think it's in the morning. It's an early game.
Is it really?
Yeah, well, when
I
we
think
were...
for Lucas is at 3:00, isn't it?
No,
Noon.
No.
Noon is when
Oh,
you
noon
go
to
through.
three.
yeah. Well, no, because remember when we were driving through Gainesville, they were like heavy traffic area, and it ended at 3 p.m. It's an early game, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll figure that one out. I don't
But
know.
yeah, we'll have to figure it out because that is a game. Like, if we're over helping out Lucas, I want to, bring a computer and be able to watch the game. As much as when you know your team is going to significantly lose, I mean, they're going to get killed tomorrow. I mean, there's no doubt about it. These guys are going to get killed tomorrow. But it's the FSU Gator game. Like you have to watch it. Like you can't not watch it, even though you know you're going to be like, oh man.
Yeah. No, that will totally suck. That will totally suck, man. But it happens.
It's like you have to watch a train wreck. You know?
Yeah. You got to watch the train wreck. So, again, you can I can take it or leave it.
I know you don't care. Like, there's certain teams I still care about, and you know what? No, it's not even certain teams. I still just care about the Gators. Like all the rest of them. Like I used to be a huge Tampa fan and watch every game and that. Now I'm kind of like when they got rid of all the good players and kind of did them wrong.
Hey, Warren, this is
I was kind of done with them. But now I still can't. Like I don't know. I went to school there. Like I have to love them.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, you know what? This is kind of starting a little early, but we are because it's December, or is it December now? Yeah, no, it's still
Sunday
November.
is December.
So it's still November, but one thing that we're going to do a lot more of in 2014, but also in December and in 2014 moving forward is going to be more interviews.
Right.
We're going to do more interviews with people, and not just with Brandon from Global Dispatch.
I don't even consider him an
Well, he's
interview.
more like a regular on the show.
I consider him like the fourth member of the show that can only be on for the half hour.
Yeah. but the first interview that I wanted to do is with a gentleman by the name of Warren Redlick. Warren is actually the author of a book called Fair DUI. Hey, you know what's cool about actually having the book is that you can go like this and not have to worry about like a link or anything else like that. You
Yeah.
can go, here's the book.
Here's the
It's
book.
right here.
I have it in my hand.
And it's Stay Safe in a Sane World, gone MADD. And I think that is a little bit of a poke at mad mothers against drunk driving, actually. He's actually a practicing DUI lawyer. So, I mean, it's not like he's just a dude that said, hey, man, fair DUI and let's talk about it. Like, he's a lawyer, so he sees it, he knows it, he's a, educated person.
Knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he does it for a livelihood. Yeah, that's one of the, if you really want to get advice from somebody when it comes to this. And also, I want to ask him, about things about why the book was written and all that kind of stuff. But without any further ado, Warren, you're on the air. Good morning, Warren. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thank you.
Happy Black Friday.
Happy Black Friday to you. You didn't happen to do any shopping, did you?
I did go on Amazon last night. I didn't go to any physical stores, no.
Okay, good. Went on Amazon though. Hey, look, that's the way you should do it.
There
You
was
go to
violent
Amazon.
confrontations. You were safe, so we're
didn't,
glad.
You didn't have like an IP address fight with another IP address over who could get the deal on Amazon, did you?
I think some bits may have collided.
All right. Well, Warren, the first question is that what is the book Fair DUI about? If for those of you that haven't read it yet,
It's about the likely encounter all of us will have, sober or not, with a police officer some night, whether you're speeding, whatever the situation is, and how you should deal with it. Whether it's not intended for drunks. If you're hammered, you're not going to remember the instructions. You're not going to handle it right. If you're on the other hand, if you're sober and you haven't had any drinks at all, you might be surprised to find out that some people actually get arrested while sober. And there are even people who have been charged with driving while intoxicated while sober. So it's primarily intended for the sober driver, the person who's had a couple drinks, to let them know, here's how to handle this situation.
Oh, exactly. Now, because you just said something that was actually something I've never heard before, is that people that have never had a drop to drink have been pulled over and charged with driving under the influence, even though there was no proof whatsoever that they drove drunk. How did they end up getting those people? Or how did they arrest those people and convict them?
Okay, so what your question relates to is the common question I get as a lawyer. People will say, blah, blah, blah happened. Can they do that? Well, they just did. So the answer is they can do it and they can get away with it because, I imagine you guys know, police are generally not held accountable for doing things wrong. So police do whatever they feel like. Most cops won't do that, but there was a case this year in Arizona, New Mexico, where they pulled a guy over. They took him to the station. He blew a 0.00, and they still charged him. The answer is because the police wanted to. I don't have a better answer than that.
No.
They give it to a prosecutor to try to prosecute the case, but most of the time these guys make a deal because what they could face if they don't make the deal is so harsh that they're not willing to risk it.
I guess maybe my question was not specific enough. What proof are they using? I mean, I guess they don't have any proof, but what is the defense's claim or the prosecution's claim on it, on how they knew this person was driving drunk?
It's the police officer's opinion that you appeared to be intoxicated or impaired by drugs.
Oh, what a bunch of...
He looked at you. You had slur. One of my favorite stories. I had a jury trial. My client was pulled over, and in the course of the traffic stop, the police officer said that his speech was impaired, that he had slurred speech, that he had trouble understanding him. Now, my client was from Japan, and has a rather pronounced Japanese accent. I don't know how you can tell whether somebody who's got a Japanese accent has slurred speech, but he said it, and the judge bought it.
Unbelievable.
Apparently, that's impaired speech.
Now, do you see in the course of your duties, because you are a DUI lawyer, so you deal with DUIs on a pretty frequent basis? Is this rampant, or is this something that happens when it comes to these kinds of cases? Is it rampant, or is it something that doesn't happen as much as not very often?
Most of my DUI experience is limited to New York, where it's called DWI, and most of my experience, it is rare for somebody who's had 0 drinks to be arrested or charged. It does happen. People with no drinks do get arrested. But usually when they get them to the station, they blow on the machine, they blow a 0.00, the police let them go. Although, if the police officer suspects something's going on, he may think there's some kind of drug impairment, and then he wants you to pee in a cup or draw blood. And they have what are so-called drug recognition experts, which is baloney, but they have cops who are trained to recognize whether drugs are involved. And on that testimony alone, you could conceivably be convicted. If a jury believes the police officer's training and you don't defend yourself well, you could be convicted when you have absolutely nothing wrong with you.
I got you. And you wrote the book as a defense mechanism for people so that they know how to handle these encounters, because these encounters can end up costing you... you always hear the commercial, it's like $10,000 is what it's going to cost you overall. But you could not be drinking at all. You could get pulled over, and it's a bad encounter with the cop. And next thing you know, you're going through a DUI. That some of the things that are in the book would actually, in your book, Fair DUI, would actually help you in challenging that. That's a good way of saying it, right?
I would say it a different way. The book was motivated primarily by all the mistakes my clients have made that led them to have problems in their case that made it more difficult for me to win. So, I mean, the number one piece of advice in the book, which everyone should know and no one seems to get, is remain silent. You have the right to remain silent. It doesn't start when the police officer tells you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent before you even saw him. And people frequently will create evidence for the police by speaking. When you speak, the police will be able to say your speech was impaired. So my Japanese client implicated himself because his speech was impaired, apparently by being from another country. When you admit that you were drinking, you just admitted you were drinking. Why would you admit you were drinking? But they admit they were drinking. There's more evidence that you're guilty of something. All kinds of things that people do, and the idea was to get people to recognize at the beginning, okay, if you've been pulled over, you're at risk of being arrested, and you want to minimize the risk of being arrested, and you want to minimize the consequences that may come if you are arrested. And by doing this, following the advice in the book, you will minimize the risk to yourself of much more serious consequences. And I got to pause for a second. The book is not intended to get you out of a speeding ticket. Okay, if you get a speeding ticket and you refuse to speak to the police officer and you're not cooperative in the way the police describe, they're not going to cut you a break on your speeding ticket. But I would much rather have a speeding ticket that my lawyer can get me out of later than have a DUI arrest. And that's the thinking.
Would you say that just in general? And I mean, you know, and you'll see, and I know you specialize in DUI, but I'm sure you've been around and you see a lot of cases. Just in general, silence, would you say that silence is probably your best friend in any kind of altercations with the police?
Yes, and I would say almost any lawyer would tell you that. And this, again, one of the things that sort of motivated me on this is you see the videos where the guys are at a checkpoint or whatever, and they say, am I being detained? Am I free to go? No, don't ask that either. Don't talk. You know, don't talk at all. Zero. I have never seen an incident where my client talking helped their case. If you're going, one of the things you got to get in your head is when they've pulled you over, you may have encountered a police officer who is going to arrest you no matter what. That police officer may have made a determination before he's even spoken with you that he's going to arrest you. And anything you say will be used against you. So don't say anything, and then that won't be able to be used against you. And they cannot use against you your silence as long as, thanks to a recent Supreme Court decision, as long as you affirmatively assert your right to remain silent, which,
right.
Generally speaking, if you just keep your mouth shut, you're okay.
Generally speaking, if you just be quiet, yeah. And the other thing, just to make sure that everybody reiterates, is that there's an overall theme that's in the book Fair DUI, and it's don't drink and drive first and foremost.
Right.
The book was not written in any way to advocate for driving drunk, and here's the tools to get out of it. This is for people that would know better than to go get hammered and they get behind the wheel, but how to protect yourself as a citizen against an overreaching, police state, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fair statement, I would imagine, right?
Yes, no, and I think there are other bits of advice in there that as I look back, having written the book and having a lot of conversations since about the book, I think another big piece of advice is if you know you're going to go, listen, if you're going to disregard that piece of advice and you're going to have a couple drinks and then drive home, know who you're with. Have a conversation with it. Don't go drinking alone and then drive home, because then you don't have any witnesses. One of the key things that can really help and ways I've won cases are when you have witnesses who will walk into court and say you were sober. So if you have someone in the car with you who will say you were sober, that contradicts the police story that you were not sober. When you were at a party with 5 friends and 5 people walk into court, some of whom are actually credible people, and they say, no, he was fine, we wouldn't have let him leave if we thought he couldn't drive, juries find that compelling, as compared to a police officer who your lawyer will shred. Police officers do not generally testify well. They make a lot of mistakes. They provide us with a lot of ammo to shoot at them. So we can make them weak witnesses. And your witnesses, your friends, don't have holes in their story because they tend to tell the truth and there's no obvious flaws in what they say. So that's a really good example. Make sure you know who your witnesses are before you get in the car.
I got you. That's actually definitely a really good piece of advice on that one. When it comes to the dealings, when it comes to dealings with law enforcement, that at a certain point you're telling them, look, don't talk to them, don't say anything to them. When it comes to them walking up to the door, and this is going to sound like a stupid question, but when they walk up to your window and they ask for a driver's license registration and you hand it to them and they ask you so where are you going or anything like that, do you literally say nothing, or do you just say I'm remaining silent, or you just don't say nothing, or do you at least respond?
My advice would be to not talk at all, but to go along with this question that came up from people after the book, I think you've seen a copy of it on my website. It's fairdui.org. On my website, I have a flyer. This is something that people can download for free in print. Right now, I have them for Florida, New York, and California. I'm going to be adding more. It's a card that you hold up to the window to show the police officer that says in large print, I remain silent, no searches, and I want my lawyer. And then it has at the bottom in red specific statutes, and you don't actually hand them your license. You press your license up against the window so that they can see it. The law, at least in those 3 states and a couple others that I've looked at, does not require you to hand over your license. It requires you to show them your license. So I would advise not opening your window. And the reason you don't open your window is one of the pieces of evidence that they will claim, and they're full of crap, but they'll claim it, is that they detected the odor of alcoholic beverage. I've heard this phrase so many times from police officers. I detected the odor of alcoholic beverage coming from the vehicle. Emanating. They might even say emanating. I detected the odor of alcoholic beverage emanating from the vehicle. So if you don't open your window, they can no longer claim they detected the odor of alcoholic beverage coming from the window because the window is closed. And so that's a very it's very unsettling for police when you refuse to open the window, because it's commonly assumed that you're required to open your window, but you're not. And this is something a lot of lawyers are uncomfortable with too. So one of the things you want to do, especially if you're not in Florida or New York, because I'm a lawyer only in Florida and New York, is you want to talk to a lawyer in your home state. You kind of want to have your lawyer lined up and say, hey, if I do this, what's going to happen? Is this safe to do? And there are lawyers who will disagree with me about this. That's fine. Lawyers disagree about everything. But my opinion is your long-term goal is not to get a DUI conviction, because that's worse than the other consequences you might be worried about.
Because if you can work well that night, then you can get out of it later on, and it's the later on that's going to cost you the most money.
You can at least mitigate the damages.
Yeah, because a little night of making a cop angry where they might just arrest you, but they went about it the wrong way, is going to save you when it comes to the court thing.
Right.
And I actually went to fairdui.org, and it actually said, I remain silent, no searches, I want my lawyer. And it's big, bold, black. And then underneath it says in red, this is great. I've never seen this. Please put any tickets under windshield wiper. I am not required to sign. And then it cites a statute. I'm not required to hand you my license. It cites a statute. Thus, I am not opening my window. I will comply with clearly stated lawful orders. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is totally awesome.
And I'll tell you the thinking behind the statutes in particular. First of all, that's for Florida.
Right.
And it cites Florida statutes. It's also true for New York, and the New York Flyer has different statutes, because New York has different, numbers for their statutes. California, you actually can be required to sign. So on the California one, it doesn't have that. Although police officers don't always require you to sign, so I just don't mention it. And if the police officer figures it out, he says, open your window on the back side of the card. The back side of every card has instructions for the driver. If he tells you to open the window to sign the ticket, you got to open the window. But the reason is because I've dealt with police officers a lot. And if you just say something boldly like, screw you, I don't have to do that, they think they know the law better than you do. Mm-hmm. But if you actually give them a specific statute number, the police officer is going to look at that and say, oh, crap, he might be right. I better call my sergeant. And I think this relates to a conversation I've had with some police officers and other people. I want to clear this. You have to get in the police officer's mind for a second. What are his goals in this encounter? And people don't think about this the way police think about this. The police officer's number one goal in this encounter is to get home safely to his family. That is the number one goal of every police officer, almost every police officer, when they go out every day, is they want to get home safe to their family. Number two is they don't want to get fired. And violating statutes that they have notice of is a good way of getting fired. And they don't want to get sued and end up in federal court in places like Miami where juries don't like cops. So I'm down here in South Florida where juries don't like cops. So they don't want to get shot, they don't want to get fired, and they don't want to get sued. And the purpose of that statute is addressing numbers 2 and 3. If you're a police officer and you see that, you're thinking, well, I don't want to get fired. I better check with my sergeant before I do something here. And the sergeant's going to have the same thought. Let's look up the statute. Oh, it just says he has to show it to you. It doesn't say he has to hand it to you. And if you think about it like you're in a checkpoint, that cop is going to say, you know what? There's 1,000 cars behind this one. I'll just get the next guy. You're not important enough to that police officer that he needs that fight. And he figures he's being recorded, and you should record. And he knows that people are recording these traffic stops, and he knows that's a way cops get fired. They do get held accountable when they screw up enough. And so a lot of cops are going to say, you know what? I'm going to let this guy go, and I'm going to move on to the next guy. It may work. It may not work. You may get arrested, whatever, but you've documented that they haven't done the right thing, and you're protecting yourself for the future.
Wow, that's
that.
A really good piece of advice, by the way. It really is. And having those big, again, what the funny part is that what you said earlier is you're absolutely right. It does come into tone, like you want to go, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's when they throw the cuffs on you. You have to give them the reason why. Right. You just can't say, you can't assume that they know the law, because a lot of times, and this, I guess this asks another question, it kind of off topic a little bit, but it's true that a lot of these patrolmen don't really know the law as well as you would expect them to know.
Well, in all honesty, there's so many laws. I mean, if you were to look at the book of statutes, then county ordinances, city, regulations and things like that, I don't know of a person anywhere that would have a good enough memory to know them all.
Yeah. I mean, what is your experience with it, Warren?
No, I think that's correct. The police know the basic laws that they know the speed law. And then they have sort of what they've been trained. What the previous cops have told them to do is a lot of what they're based on is they went to an academy and the academy taught them some things, and they get on the road and the cops say, okay, we don't really do it the way they taught in the academy. Here's how you do it. And a lot of what police do, and a lot of what everybody does in any job, is what the previous guy told them. Here's how you do it. And they don't read the statutes. And you're right. You're correct. You're absolutely correct. There's so many they couldn't possibly read them all. But when you confront them with that statute, some cops, at least in New York, the cops will actually have the book of statutes in their car. And some cops would actually go back to the car and look at it up and say, "Oh, he's right." The good cops are actually going to do that. And there's a lot, despite the demonization of police officers, there's a lot of good cops out there who do things like that. They say, you know what, I better check on this. I would say most cops are going to check on it before they do something stupid like smashing open your window. But I think it's important to understand that a lot of lawyers, organizations think the ACLU will tell you should roll down your window a crack. Well, I don't agree with that. I think you shouldn't roll down your window at all. And it depends on what state you're in. There may be a state where you are required to hand your license, but in New York, Florida, and California, which are three of the biggest states in the country, you're not.
Yeah.
In Ohio and New Jersey, by the way, also, you're not. Those are two of the other states I've looked at. So if you're not required to hand them your license, why would you?
No, yeah, no, absolutely.
I would say assert your rights fully. And I should say another thing, that the flyer is intended for a certain kind of people. If you're the book talks about, suppose you're not comfortable not talking at all. Then I give you some suggestions of things to say, like my lawyer told me not to answer any questions, is a relatively polite way of saying it. But if you're going to use the flyer, the flyer is intended for liberty activists who are looking for that kind of encounter, who are deliberately looking for checkpoints to go through and challenge the police. That's one group of people that it's intended for, and you know the risks when you're going to do that, but you're prepared and you're recording. The other group of people is people who, you have to know yourself. You have to know that, because the police officer is not going to like it when you show them the card. And at a certain point, you may have that moment where it says, look, I'm ordering you to roll down your window, and you have a decision to make whether you're going to roll down your window or not. And at some point, the police officer is going to threaten, if you don't roll down your window, I'm going to smash it in. Now, if a police officer smashes in your window, he's really looking at a chance of getting sued. Because there's a case in Louisiana where a police officer smashed in somebody's window, the person sued, and the federal judge said, that might be enough for a lawsuit here. I'm not dismissing it. That doesn't mean the case is over yet, but, ordinarily cops want to do stuff they know is going to be dismissed if they get sued over it. And there's a federal judge in Louisiana who said, I don't think you can smash in their window. So you better have a good explanation for why you did that. And he didn't.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to understand, is you have to be prepared for what's going to happen if you follow this advice. And if you follow this advice and you hold this card up, you can expect the police officer to be quite cross. He might not be happy with you. He might threaten you. He might. A common line police will say is, listen, if you cooperate, this is going to go a lot easier. Yeah, it's going to go a lot easier for them to arrest you and put you in jail and get you convicted. But
it's going to go
not
easier
going
for
to go
them.
a lot easier, and it may be a more comfortable experience. They may make it more comfortable in that moment, but I've had these conversations with some cops, and I say, listen, when you tell people if they cooperate, it's going to go better for them. That's a lie. Well, yeah, but we got to catch the bad guys, and they acknowledge. Police will acknowledge that yes, that's a lie, and that they are trained to tell that lie. So you're dealing with people who are lying. Why would you trust them? They're trained to lie. Why would you trust them when they tell you this is going to go easier if you cooperate, when you know that they're trained to lie? And you should know that. You should be aware of that. Police are trained to lie, and a lot of people just sort of accept, well, they have to do it to catch the bad guys. Yeah, except right now they think you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to recognize at that moment they think you're the bad guy and they're lying to you.
No, absolutely.
And people don't get that.
And that does bring up another point right now, is that a lot of people would say that, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to hide, or, the police got to catch the bad guys, or they kind of say it's okay that they violate the Constitution as long as their motives are genuine. Well, because
as long as they're doing it to black people.
Yeah. Well, look, they've
as long as they're doing it to black people, it's okay. When they do it to white people or my children, it's not okay.
Yeah, and that's what you see a lot.
But one of the biggest problems right now is that there's so many laws on the books, and there's so many more laws coming, and that just like on, the cops have a lot of different influences or a lot of pressures, and one of them is the pressure that's coming from their bosses to them. of you got to write so many tickets. I mean, I know they say that the quotas don't exist, but we all know that they do. But they have all this pressure that's going on them, and then you have the people who are getting sick and tired of all this stuff pressuring on the other end. You're putting a lot of pressure on these cops, and with that many laws out there, they can snap, and next thing you know, somebody's getting beat up.
Well, and it's just comes down to, I mean, we would all admit that all of us are human. We make mistakes. Sometimes we get it wrong, and the police are not above that as well. There are just going to be times where they make a mistake, even with the best of intentions. They're still just flawed. We're human beings. They make mistakes. They read something wrong. It can happen, and an innocent person ends up with their rights violated over something that was just human error.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Greg?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times also the cops operate in an us versus them mentality. Mm-hmm. It's the police versus the citizens, and they almost assume that everyone is guilty of something until it's proven otherwise. Now, that's not the way we're supposed to operate, but that's how they operate on the streets. And you can be doing absolutely nothing wrong. That doesn't mean the cop is going to approach you as if he thinks you're doing absolutely nothing wrong. He's going to assume that you're hiding something most of the time, and that's why he's going to lie to you. And he's going to tell you exactly what he wants to tell you to make this interaction go his direction, so he can get more information, find what it is that you're doing wrong, or maybe stick you with something that you're doing wrong that you weren't actually doing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Warren. Respond, please.
No, I think that I think it also depends on where you are. I live in the wealthy community of Boca Raton, and if you're in the city of Boca Raton and you're white and you're pulled over by a Boca Raton city cop, they may not have an us versus them mentality. If you're in the Parkland, the city of Parkland, which is really close to where I live, and you're from Parkland, the Parkland police treat the city residents differently than they treat people from outside. There's an insider-outsider thing, and it may be for certain police. Now if you're in Riviera Beach, which is a combat zone, or Opelika, Miami, which is a combat zone, it's definitely us versus them, the police in their car versus everybody outside of it. But in wealthier communities, the police recognize that the residents are the people who vote for their bosses, and they may go easier on their locals. So it really depends on where you are, and you need to know your community. So my experience in Boca Raton is that, I got pulled over for 52 and a 40, the cop wrote me a warning ticket. They are generally nice to people who they think are the good. They do make those distinctions. I think it's wrong, but they definitely treat, I think a lot of police officers will treat people who they view as different from them, whether it's minorities or punks or whatever it is. Those people may not get the same treatment.
Yeah.
And it depends. Every cop's different.
Oh, no.
One of my friends is a cop, and in high school, he would walk around wearing a heavy metal T-shirt, and he's a headbanger. So he may be more sympathetic to heavy metal people,
Right.
Yeah, or actually less, because he knew what they were doing. I've seen it go the other way too. Surprisingly enough,
I was you when I was a kid.
I'm gonna bust you now, boy.
I know what you're doing on the grassy knoll.
If we could, in kind of, I'd say the last question here is that. In talking with you right here is that the book Fair DUI is about more than just DUIs, or there's some overlapping, not overlapping, but there's some all-inclusive kind of themes that go along with it. If you could give people some information as to where they can go to find it, to look at it, where they can buy it at, could you give that information out real quick, Warren?
Sure. First of all, the book is Fair DUI. The full title is Fair DUI, Stay Safe and Sane in a World Gone Mad. And yes, that's a shot at Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The book is available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback. I believe currently at Kindle it's $2.99, and paperback it's $8.99. It should be $9.99, but Amazon discounts it without asking me, and I don't complain. The flyer and the book are both readily visible on the website fairdui.org. Fairdui.com also works, but fairdui.org is the main site. And I'm adding more information. I just wrote a blog post about who it's for, to recognize who it's for, and I'm going to be writing more about the legal issues. There's underlying legal issues like why you don't have to open your window. What's the Supreme Court case that motivated me to say that? There's a case where a dog sniffed around the outside of the car, and they said that was legit. They didn't say Sparky could go inside the car. So therefore, if the dog can smell outside the car but not inside the car, the police officer can't smell inside the car. That's my theory. Mm-hmm. So those are things I'm going to be adding to the website as I go along. I've been motivated. I've been getting a lot of feedback from people. You can watch a video on fairdui.org, one of our recent posts. A guy in the Jacksonville area, I think, went through checkpoint twice using the card. And he didn't use it right, but he used it, and he was waved on. So I think that's worth seeing and reading what I have to say about it.
Yeah, and it seems to me that the flyer itself, the best value for that flyer is the checkpoints, more so even than than a stop. That the checkpoint actually seems that would probably end up working better.
It's more effective at a checkpoint because the legal issues for police are more constrained at a checkpoint under the law. That's not to say they follow the law, but if they're following the law at a checkpoint, they're more constrained in what they can do. And the one thing at the bottom of the flyer, it says, I will comply with clearly stated lawful orders. In a traffic stop, and this is different from a checkpoint, in a traffic stop, if the police officer tells you to get out of the car, you probably should get out of the car. But at that moment, the police officer should pat you down for weapons. Mm-hmm. If the police officer has a valid Supreme Court case says that they can order you out of the car if they're checking you for weapons. Most police, when they order you out of the car, do not check you for weapons immediately because they have some other purpose, and then it's unconstitutional what they did. The only constitutional reason that's been acknowledged for them to get you out of the car is when they're checking you for weapons because the Supreme Court says officer safety is their primary concern. Yeah. I disagree. I think the Fourth Amendment outweighs the officer's phony perception of safety, but Supreme Court has spoken, and I don't outrank them yet.
Yeah, the key word being "yet" there. Warren, thank you very much. We appreciate the time this morning, and thank you very much for explaining this stuff, and especially for I didn't realize fairdui.org. I didn't go to the site before, so that's awesome. That we're going to link that up on the suggested link page on 1787network.com because that flyer's going to be worth its weight in gold, and that's if you printed it on something that weighed a lot. So, well, Warren, Warren, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day, Warren. That was good. Again, you know what it is? You never know what you're going to run. An interview, you never know what you're going to learn in an interview.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely think that a lot of the tips in the book would actually help you, whether it's a DUI or just any traffic stop or any altercation with the police. Because a lot of it is kind of general things like, silence is your best friend, things like that. People think that because someone is asking you a question that you have to answer, or that, when a police officer tells you have to do something, that means you have to do it, which, we find, and this is what we do quite often, is when we're somewhere in or out of the car and a police officer says you have to do this, and it seems like that would be a ridiculous thing to have to do, we say, okay, no problem, I'll completely comply as soon as you tell me the statute, regulation, or ordinance.
Yeah.
And as soon as you and you go about it in this way, like, yeah, I'll comply as soon as you show me why, then all of a sudden it's like, okay.
Yeah. Now, look, what I will say is this, is that these guys, the police have now done me a great disservice when it comes to actually being prepared now. And the reason is because they're just too damn nice to me. And they don't ever pull me over. And when they do, they ask me they call me by my first name. They never give me tickets. I have, in all honesty, I don't see the problems that everybody else does right now. And it's not because they don't exist. It's because they're not doing it to me. I think one day they're just going to flip script on it. Like in Star Wars, when the stormtroopers turned on the Jedi.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying.
Execute Order 66.
Yeah. That's like, because in all honesty, I think that almost every single person in Florida should be buying Warren's book and reading it and asserting their rights. Me, I'm like, well, that doesn't apply to me. I can't even get the police to come near the car, let alone tell me to roll down my window.
Yeah, that's the damn problem to begin with. Is all of that. But but I'm not. Here's the thing: most people are still going to get pulled over, and they have to deal with the police. So check out Warren's book, because again, he's giving you guys the advice that you need. But one advice is don't drink and drive. Just don't drink and drive.
The best advice is to not drink and drive. Take a cab, have a friend drive you home. Someone be the designated driver, and then you won't ever have to deal with any of these things.
Exactly. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to be live on Tan Talk 1340. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Of the man with the rifle in his hand, don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. Authoritative man, I'm ready to die, but not for a lie. See the signs appear, it's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker and Adrian Wiley on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody around the world. This is Alex Snicker, co-host, Liberty Underground. You are listening to us live on Tan Talk 1340 AM on Black Friday. If you'd like to call the program, you can call the Refresh Telecom phone lines at 1-800-525-4032. That is 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, the only company that will will not give your information to the NSA when it comes to the phone calls that you're making.
Absolutely.
Which is always a nice thing. Danielle, how are you doing this morning?
I'm a little full from Thanksgiving still, but working through it this morning.
Yeah, I'm working through it as well. You got to remember, what goes in must come out. And
I wasn't gonna go there. That's not what I was talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
just a full belly.
Either was I then. I wasn't talking about that either. Greg, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing great.
Doing great. Well, we're going to get right into the news. And this isn't, well, this is news, but it's not like,
not news,
not breaking news. No, it's real news, but it's not breaking. It's more to show something. But go ahead, Danielle.
We have talked about the TSA quite extensively on Tan Talk, on everywhere that will ever let us speak or listen to us or read what we wrote. We talk about the TSA and how absolutely ineffective they are. And we've always made mention that, the only people who wanted to cause us harm that were stopped were not actually stopped by TSA agents. They were stopped by vigilant citizens that just said, something's not right here. Let me look into it. And that's how anyone who's tried to cause us harm, that's what stopped it. There is a suggestion that the TSA may have stopped one person who may have wanted to do something, but they couldn't really prove that. They just looked suspicious, so they stopped them. But other than that one instance, they basically have just harassed and groped people and been very inappropriate. Things that if you and I did on the street, we would be in jail for a long time for. But the guise of the TSA would be that they would stop people from ever getting onto a plane or a train or anywhere where you're traveling with a weapon or with something that would do us harm if you had the intention of harming the country. Well, a researcher decided to take on the TSA's claims that, nothing's going to get through, and if nothing were to get through, we're all safe. And they said, okay, well, we'll go on the basis that nothing gets through. No weapons, and nothing gets through the TSA. They never make a mistake. Could someone still harm us? Do they actually keep us safe? So they went through TSA with absolutely nothing on them, and went through and went to the gift shop in an airport. And then went to some of the newsstands where they give you stuff away for free and things like that. And they have this researcher successfully made a bomb, an explosive device, and several different types of weapons. One being a type of gun, it would be something that would shoot a projectile out, with things that you would find in the airport gift shop. And handing out free throughout any airport within the country. So even if you went through a TSA checkpoint with absolutely nothing, if you wanted to do us harm, you could, because you could buy the stuff from the gift shop to make a bomb.
Yeah, even by saying this now, that they're just going to take everything out of the gift shop.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a war on gift shops.
We need to declare war on gift shops. It's not what you think. These people that are there, and you know what? A lot of these people that are working there are not from America. Maybe the next step in the terrorists is actually going and taking over gift shops in airports. This could be the new epidemic that's coming up here. What do you think, Greg?
Are the TSA going to take over the running of the gift shops inside airports?
Oh, that's what they're going to do.
That's what they're going to do.
Oh, that's
right.
what
That's
it
what
is.
they're gonna
The TSA is now going to be your gift shop clerk, and they're going to have to. can you do a pat down like as you're buying stuff? Like, I see you have enough stuff here to create something bad, so let me sexually molest you?
Well, no. What's going to happen? No. This is how it's going to work. This is I know exactly how it's going to work. What they're going to do is they're going to let you purchase the items. And then as soon as you purchase the items and give them the cash, then they're going to confiscate all the items and put them back on the shelves for the next person to go and buy, so they can take those from them and put them back on the shelves. They're solving the inventory problem at the airport gift shops with this, because they're never going to have to buy the product again, because all they got to do is confiscate it as soon as you're done getting it.
But it'll be duty free, so you'll save the import export tax.
Yeah, you won't have to pay the taxes. You won't have to pay the taxes, but you will have to actually give it back, and it's not going to be fun for you, but it's going to keep us all safe. And that's what's important, is keeping us all safe.
And they do go through some of the material that was bought, and they don't mention everything, and even the researcher said, I'm not trying to tell people how to make a bomb with gift shop items, but here are some of the items that was purchased, and it's like a stainless steel coffee mug, a AA battery, Axe body spray, and he says, and there's a lot of other materials that went into it, but and they found all of them with this is what he calls it, with marginally MacGyver-esque skills.
Marginally MacGyver. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I thought that was a cool little thing.
I wish I had marginally MacGyver-esque skills. Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, no, we would definitely fail at this, even if someone gave us all the instructions.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that I would probably fail, even if given all the instructions.
Even given all the instructions, we would actually. Now, me and you could go to the airport together, bicker over it for no, you're doing that wrong. No, this is what it says, and then we would fail.
I actually think at that point we'd probably just blow ourselves up.
We might.
That's just my thought.
Maybe more of a danger to ourselves.
Yes, that's
others.
It's a very good way of putting it.
But it just goes to prove that the TSA isn't, they're just an arm of the government that is violating your rights. And they actually serve no real purpose, because anyone who is set on doing harm to other people can find a way to do harm to other people. You may have made it to where they may have to rethink the plan, but they can still do it. If someone's set on doing harm, they're set on doing harm, because no matter how many checkpoints you have, evil is still evil, and they will find a way to be evil. But what you have done is harass people who are good people, just trying to get where they need to go. And that's what the TSA has done. Nobody is safer, but everybody is harassed.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the local area, well, because District 13 has an airport in it, right? Yeah, it does. I think it does.
Well, yeah, it does. But I mean, and this is, you want to get rid of the TSA. We need to start electing people, especially on the federal level, for things like the TSA, to get rid of them. And in District 13, you can.
Yeah. There's a very unique opportunity for those in this listening office that you're going to have in 2013.
Listening area
in 2014. And that is the District 13 election. And you're going to have whoever the Republican nominee ends up being, either the Washington insider or the Pinellas County insider on the Republican side. And another note, by the way, on a side note, let me just say this about this race. I really do wish at one point the Republicans would learn their lesson and put people up that were decent people. I have a friend, and I'm not going to mention his name right now, but it's a person that I do consider a friend. But at the same time, I do realize where he stands politically and the way he goes about doing things. And I really disagree with him a lot of the times, but normally I can kind of overlook it. And this one, I'm having a really hard time overlooking it. I mean, not so much that I wouldn't be his friend anymore, because I totally would be his friend, but I'm having a hard time with, we want to send the guy up that's experienced, that doesn't have to learn anything. Hey, look, I don't want the guy that's the insider up in Tallahassee or in Washington, D.C. The guy that's been there for a bunch of years, and when he wasn't there, he was a lobbyist to those guys.
Right.
Like, I don't really want that guy up there. That guy doesn't have the experience that I'm looking for.
Right. Well, I think that when you look at Congress having a 9% approval rating, you don't want the guy that's experienced with that, because that's their experience is all the things we hate. So why is that what we want? You know, and I'll take a little on the job training for someone who isn't experienced in the corruption and just the, you know, evil in most ways that's going on in DC. So, you know, I think there's a lot of arguments right now, because obviously we're talking about Lucas Overby, who's the Libertarian candidate in District 13. And there's a lot of arguments that we hear a lot from even like Liberty Republicans. Like, they use kind of a couple issues to be real deal breakers. And a lot of that is the social issues, gay marriage or, abortion, things like that. They kind of use that as deal breakers to not support the Libertarian candidate, even though they say, I agree with him on everything else. But those two things are deal breakers. But this week, both there's actually 3 Republicans running for this office. I don't know where Bircher stands on any of them, because he's getting I feel bad for this guy. The Libertarian candidate's getting way more press than this guy is,
Yeah.
But there is 3 people in the race. I don't know where he stands, but I know Kathleen Peters and David Jolly both came out this week saying that they are not going to discuss. They just do not find the social issues to be important whatsoever. They're not going to be discussing abortion. Kathleen Peters went as far as to say abortion is the law of the land. It's not going to change, so we just need to live with it. David Jolly says, there's a lot of other things going on. I'm not dealing with those issues. So the one big issue, the one kind of big divide that we do see a lot of times between either people who call themselves conservatives or Liberty Republicans on why they won't support the Libertarian is these social issues, but their own candidates are saying that they're not going to touch those issues either. So for me, that should have been taken out of the equation. Like, your guys aren't going to do anything about it either, and they're telling you that. But yet we're still seeing he still believes that stuff, so I can't support him. Lucas still believes that gay people should be able to get married, so I can't support him. But your own candidates are saying they're not going to touch the issue.
Well, again, that was always a fake argument anyway, though.
Well, we always knew that.
It was one of those things where they can, and it's funny to say it this way. It's one of those, they always say this because they don't want to say the hypocritical thing. They don't want to go, yeah, I'm a hypocrite, and I really am just going to vote for the Republican no matter what.
Right.
But the best part about it is this race, you're going to have probably a 25% voter turnout.
Yeah.
At the most you're going to have is a 25% voter turnout, because there's nobody in this race that is, other than Lucas, there's nobody in this race that really is going to, blow your skirt up. And for saying, look, Alex Sink, for as liked as she is in some places, is not liked very much as well.
Well, she's hated in just as many places.
Yeah, she's hated in just as many places, and that kind of goes along bipartisan lines. Mm-hmm. Because Alex Sink was the CFO up in Tallahassee, and she did not have what you would consider to be a stellar record when it comes to being up in Tallahassee. So you're not bringing in a political outsider with Alex Sink.
Well, and David Jolly was Bill Young's legislative aide for years. He was a lobbyist for years, 20 years on both sides. So he's by no means a newbie. He's definitely a political insider. And then you have Kathleen Peters that has run for just about everything.
Well, hold on. Let me just say this though, David Jolly. And again, I've heard where he stands on some of the issues, where he claims to stand on some of the issues. Irrelevant. The fact that you've been up there that long only proves to me that you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want anybody that's up there to stay up there anymore. I want them all to go away. I don't want them to go from lobbyist to now congressperson or congressman. So David Jolly is definitely not somebody that you can support, for the simple fact of if you think that this government's a problem, which 80 or 90% of the people do. I'd go 91, I think was the
91%.
The last one is the disapproval ratings at 91%. That because of that, you can't vote for somebody like David Jolly, and you can't even promote that. Anybody that would promote David Jolly, that's just problems all day long. Like, you don't even understand you don't even understand the problem right now. And this Kathleen Peters chick, you don't need that either, because look. Again, she was former South Pasadena mayor. She was told to run by the Latvalas. Anybody that the Latvalas tell to run, honestly, just don't. You just get away from that person. Because those people are not interested at all in what you have to say.
Well, listen, if you think cockroaches are better than Congress, you don't want to elect the guy that's been working with Congress for 20 years, and you don't want to elect the person that's been basically a political aspirant to Congress for the last, 10 decade, because all she's been doing is working her way up the political system to get to run for Congress. I mean, and that's what it is. I mean, she's giving up a state house seat to be able to run for this office. She's, basically worked her way up the political system. So, that's where it is. She's a political insider just as much as anyone else. And Alex Sink is, the same way, right? Ran for governor, was CFO. Now she's running for Congress. These are definitely political insiders. But, and this is, I am going to give credit to Deborah Clark and actually to our own supervisor of election, Brian Corley, because the state, the Secretary of State, Ken Denser, has actually put out a statement basically saying that absentee ballots cannot have drop-off locations anymore. And he put this out to all 67 supervisor of elections office, which will definitely affect this race in Pinellas.
Yes.
And Deborah Clark was pissed. And she was like, this is voter suppression. We've always done this. How dare you say that I'm not doing this in the correct manner, that any ballot would be, compromised. We've done this for years. This is how people have accessibility to voting. And she was not happy with this. And our own supervisor of election officer, Brian Corley here in Pasco, he was just as upset, saying that this is, and these are, Republicans calling out their own, saying this is voter suppression.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, one thing I said earlier, and I didn't get to the actual point I was making there, was that 25% of the public is going to be 25% of the registered voters will be voting in this race at the most. If you really want to shock the system, like if you really are looking for a change in the status quo, then you have a golden opportunity to elect somebody that will do just that. And Lucas Overby is that guy. And again, I'm biased. I'm a libertarian. He's a libertarian. So I'm biased in that aspect, but I'm not wrong. Lucas can change politics and can change it quickly. And it's not just because of him, but it's because of what he represents. And because of the time frame in which he is running for office is very unique in the fact that it's going to be a March 11th. March 11th. Right? March 11th, 2014 is when you're going to go to the polls and vote. So because it's a March 2014 race, the number of people that it will take to win goes down tremendously. So you're looking at, out of 400 plus registered voters there, 50,000 is going to be what the winner could have. The winner could have even less than that, but I think that in a three-way race, 50,000 votes will get you the win. And if 50,000 votes are going to get you the win out of 400,000 people, that means it's basically 1 out of 8. Is that right? 1 out of 8 voters?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Yeah, 1 out of 8.
So 1 out of 8 voters goes to the polls and votes for Lucas. Lucas wins. That's how low it is. I mean, again, we always talk about this. Well, the libertarians, they don't have but 10% of the vote. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with they have 10% of the vote. If all of the libertarians that are that part of that 10% of the vote go and vote for Lucas, Lucas wins.
Lucas wins.
And Lucas wins by a little bit. I mean, Lucas wins by a good amount. It's not even close. What does that do to the November elections? Because this will be a nationally watched race. And if Lucas can pull a victory out of this, what does that mean for the libertarian movement as a whole?
Just around the country.
Yeah, around the country. What do you think, Greg?
It's definitely a great thing. I mean, it'll definitely get the national attention, and it'll prove to people that libertarianism, the libertarian philosophy, is on the rise in this country, and that more and more people are coming around to that way of thinking, and they want people who represent that way of thinking in office.
Yeah. Look, and if this show, this podcast gets out not just in Tan Talk 1340, I'm glad we talked about it while we're on Tan Talk 1340, because if you're listening to this in the Clearwater area, you're going to have a vote here. You will be able to vote in this election. Do you really think that Alex Sink really cares about your problems? Do you really think that David Jolly or Kathleen Peters cares about your problems? They don't. Lucas, I would argue that Lucas cares more than any of those other people care.
Well, Lucas cares more because he's one of us. Like, he's just a working guy trying to support his family who very smart guy, knows the issues and definitely, would do the right thing in office. But he understands your life. He understands, he's not this, guy working through the political system that, only knows how to do backroom deals and lobbying. He knows what you deal with every day. Like when they raise your taxes, he knows what that feels like as the person getting it raised on.
Yeah.
Just trying to support their family. And I think we need more of that.
Yeah, he's your average guy. He's your average guy. I mean, he's a very intelligent person. He's not he's not a dummy. He's your average person though, and that's what we need up in Washington D.C. right now is more average people and less politicians. Because look, the average person doesn't know well enough to be able to lie to you the way that politicians lie to you. You know what I mean? They have to tell you the truth because they don't know the games that, the advanced instruction on lying that Republicans and Democrat candidates get.
Right.
I mean, these guys obviously it comes from the rec up. I've watched too many of this stuff to know that these guys are, being taught some kind of talking points of how to lie to people. This whole cell phone move is an old tired move that you've ever seen. But in this race, you gotta go and check Lucas out. And if you at all want to see different people other than D's and R's in Washington, D.C., you have a golden opportunity in Pinellas County, not only to vote for Lucas, but to come out and help him. As a matter of fact, on Saturday at the Daytech Center, which is there any way to I'll pull it up here in a second.
I got it.
I'll pull it up.
I'll pull up
Can
the
you give me
address.
the address and
Yeah.
stuff like that? On Saturday, the Lucas Overby campaign is actually going to have a working meeting. It's a volunteer session basically. And at this volunteer session, they're going to be doing things to help the campaign out. It's at the Daytech Center. What's the address?
It's 10300, so that's 10300 49th Street North, Clearwater, Florida.
And that's on the third floor. There's a big conference room that's up in that area. It's behind the Quaker Steak and Lube on 49th Street, up in there, and it's going to be going on from 12 to 3. Come out and help, or if you have questions, come out and ask a question about Lucas. Ask him the hard questions. Ask him the questions that most politicians wouldn't ask, but you want to know.
Wouldn't answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't answer, and see what happens. I think that you're gonna. I think you'll be one. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you will find when it comes to somebody like Lucas. And I hope I'll be down there. I'm going to go down there and help. I know
Yeah, I'll be
Danielle's going to be
there.
down there.
I think Greg, you're gonna
I
be
think
down there
Greg's
for a
gonna be
while.
there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Right. All three of us are going to be there on Saturday. Now we're not there for a radio appearance. We're there because
We're there to help Lucas.
yeah, I'm there to
Absolutely.
do whatever they need us to do.
Yeah.
That's within the law, of course. Anything they need us to do in order to help this guy secure a victory, because 50,000, like I said, that's not many. That's not nearly as many people as you would think it is. And I think we need to look at elections with these numbers in mind. In doing more of the digging of the numbers now, I've noticed this as, being able to see what it actually takes for Lucas to win. And they'll go, well, he doesn't have the money to win and he doesn't have that. Hey, look, does he have enough support to get 50,000 people to vote for him? That's really
the
the
big
only thing
question.
he needs.
Yeah.
Does he have the 50,000 to do it? But let's take a break. When we get back, Brandon from the Global Dispatch will be on. At least I hope he'll be on. We need to talk to Brandon. If Brandon's not on, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, to be honest with you. I
It'll
might.
be a Black Friday
It'll be-
mess.
it'll be
Maybe
a-
we'll have a violent confrontation in a store.
I'll have a violent confrontation in here with Greg. That's what I'm gonna do. No, it's not your fault. What am I doing? All right, let's take a break, man. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. If you'd like to call the Refresh Telecom lines, it's 1-800-525-4032. That is 1-800-525-4032. But on the phone with us, doing such a great job at all the different things that he does out there, purveying the message at theglobaldispatch.com. His name is Brandon. He is the head of the Global Dispatch.
He's like the fourth member of our show.
In many ways, he is the fourth member of the show. I actually was talking with him and was mentioning how, like he's been doing the show for so long.
He's actually been on longer than me.
Yeah, he's actually been on longer than you, which is nice too because he's a nicer person than you are, so it works out well.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, Brandon probably is a nicer person than all of us, though.
Well, probably, but I would just be careful, like how much you go down that road. Like, remember, like you still have to deal with me when we get off air.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. That's
I will
okay.
totally admit that Brandon is nicer than I am.
Yes, I'll go with it. Brandon, good morning, sir.
Happy Black Friday to everyone.
Happy Black Friday to you as well. Now, do you go out and do anything? Do you go out on Black Friday?
Actually, we do. My family and I have been doing this for several years. We usually pre-plan some different tasks or different things that we might be looking for. What's an appropriate deal for my family? But we're not one to be fist fighting over a television. We definitely don't camp out in front of Best Buy for 5 days or anything like that. So
did you witness?
We make a pleasant time of it.
Did you witness any violent confrontations this morning?
No, and actually last night was worse than this morning. We went last night for a couple of hours, and it's really more of just a congestion of people rather than actual violence. So we really have never really seen anything really get violent.
You have seen the videos of the violence, though.
Oh, of course. We've posted actually a couple stories. I think back in our Desk O'Brien days, I think we actually had a couple stories that did really big for us of making one of the videos. I think it was Target, where the door actually fell in and they kind of trampled over the security guy. So they've changed their processes so much since then. So it's definitely a much safer situation than it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is one of those weeks that's it's the Thanksgiving week. It's almost like the New Year's week, the week between Christmas and New Year's, where things slow down tremendously. Now there's some things that can get snuck in during these time frames that have happened, not just in the recent past, but in the further down the road. What's some of the big things that you're looking at right now?
Well, we've kind of taken a little bit of a breather as well. So if there's things that are getting snuck past, they may include us as well. I thought it was very interesting that I guess the PETA protest over the SeaWorld float was much bigger than I think we even originally thought. I think we saw the story and kind of ignored it, but I guess they were actually very close to deciding to pulling the SeaWorld float because of how it portrayed the happy Shamu. And of course, a lot of the animal activists have pointed to documentaries and some different things that have pointed to practices they don't approve of. The political landscape has been pretty benign, I think, some of the week. There's been some stuff, but it's a little early to kind of judge different bills and things like that are kind of floating around. The president went to a nice, safe area. He campaigned a lot in California, went to San Francisco, and he went up into, I think it was Portland or Seattle. So he's been doing the Obamacare speech. We're going to fix the website. This is a great bill, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of those folks are starting, they take time off as well, and we tend to not have a whole lot of, hard news per se to really get into. We get into a lot more of this time of the year, and sadly, we end up reporting on a lot of crime and things like that, which here in Florida has really been a horrible week for crime stories.
Oh, why? What's been going on?
Well, we had a 2-year-old that I guess her mother went out to the vehicle, a truck. They were searching around for something. There was a loaded gun. They didn't keep the loaded gun away from the child. The child ended up shooting himself.
Oh.
There was another mistaken identity case where a woman gets into a fight with her boyfriend. She actually hits him with a gun. He goes to the emergency room. She doesn't realize that, so she hears the pounding on the door. With a couple hours later, she thinks it's him. She just opens fire, man. It turned out to be her daughter, and it was kind of a tragic week in Florida. Florida. You can probably just do a whole website just on Florida.
You could.
Yeah, you could end up doing a whole website on Florida. But you know why that is because everybody comes down here from somewhere else. So you have this big melting pot of people.
Melting pot of crazy.
Florida is the melting pot of crazy.
I call it the land of second chances. When you've screwed up your life so bad where you're originally from that you can't stay there anymore, you come to Florida.
The crazies love the sun.
And I've actually known 3 people in my life that were released from prison in another state. They were given a bus ticket to Florida and told never to come back.
3 different people.
2 from New Jersey, 1 from Arizona.
So in New Jersey and Arizona, that's the going.
Yes.
It's like the guy. It's like
Florida.
the guy in Hawaii with the homeless people.
Yeah,
they just fly him off the island. Say, "Where go?"
Well, they just want to move the problem somewhere else. Is what they want to do. That seems to be it. And we don't want to move the problem anywhere else. We like the problem being right here in Florida.
Well, there's no place else to go.
But Greg does bring up a very interesting point because many of these prison releases involve, you can get a bus ticket anywhere you want to go. So if you don't have anything to live for, you're like, whatever. It's like, all right, I want to go to Florida. Okay, see you later. Ship off to Jacksonville and Tampa, Miami, where you want to go.
Yeah. That does kind of suck, though. I mean, it's not fun to be from the state where that happens.
Right.
You don't want to be. It's like
vacation spot for crazy.
It's like in the 1800s getting shipped to Australia, or was it the 1700s where it was? When did they colonize? Like they sent all the criminals from England over to Australia. Do you guys remember when that was?
I'm on the go, man. There's no way I'd quote to that date without reference and looking it up. No way.
I think it's the 1700s.
I think it might have been the 1700s.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. But
yeah.
it'd be like that back in the day.
Yeah.
What else is going on out there? What's the newest thing when it comes to like Obamacare itself? that you've heard?
Oh
Brandon?
wow, I'm not sure there's anything that's really been substantive. There's still a lot of battles over, pushing back mandates, not pushing back mandates, and a lot of back and forth on some of that, website shenanigans, those kinds of things. There was one state that has absolutely no people signing up at all.
Oregon.
And that's because the website has never worked in their state.
Not once.
I think it's Oregon.
Yeah, it's Oregon. Oregon has 0 signups for Obamacare because the website has not worked, not even for an hour.
Let me.
Yeah,
you know what?
Never has worked. And actually, what's happened is because they're trying to process people manually, they've created a labor nightmare because they have just mountains and mountains of paperwork. Because every application, I believe, is like 18 pages.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So to do it manually is like a nightmare, which is why you build a website, but you need it to work.
You know what? Let me ask you the. I know you can't tell the future, Brandon, but what do you think is going to be the end result of what happens to the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, past the next presidential election is what I'm going to say, because I'll go after 2016. What do you think is going to happen to that bill? Do you think it's here to stay?
Well,
do you think it's going to go away? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think they'll successfully delay some of the pain after the midterm election. But the problem is, headed into the presidential election, they really can't keep kicking the can down the road. I'd really be surprised if they moved mandates beyond 2015. And the fallout for that presidential election can be very, very intense, because by that time you start to get where the group plans may have to be dropped, or you may have major price hikes for for citizens that are on the employer's plans. And that could dramatically impact the presidential election and the congressional elections in 2016. The bill itself will never come off the books, in my opinion. I just can't fathom that the Democrats have just put too much into this. They have so much stake in this. They've put him on a pedestal as this as being his landmark bill, with all the FDR comparisons and all that. So I can only think, and sadly, most of the Republicans don't really want it to go away anyway. So it's not like we're going to have a big push from the right, and I don't see a huge, massive surge of Tea Party type stuff, libertarian type of stuff to really nullify or repeal it. So we may, after 2016, if the backlash is enough, see a push to do some major rewriting of the bill, some major changes. But to be honest, when so much money and so much stuff's done in it, a lot of people just throw their hands up and don't get boisterous and don't fight. And that's what I'm afraid of the most. If the medical community doesn't fight, it'll just start to dwindle, and we'll start to have shortages of doctors and nurses and stuff like we have overseas. If people don't fight, then you'll have shortages of care. You'll have elderly that won't get approved for having care they should have. You'll have services that will take months to have done, because will become more like it is in other countries. And people love to point to all of our shortcomings with our healthcare system, but the biggest thing we have that other countries don't have is accessibility. Even if it's expensive, you can at least get tests done, you can at least get treatments done that you may not be able to get done in other countries.
That you think that you're going to see a lot more of those problems. Now, do you think that those problems will cause us to move more towards single payer than it will be towards a free market solution?
Well, I absolutely. I think that's already where you have about half the population anyway, if not more than that, if you count Medicaid and Medicare, who don't want to think of themselves as a single-payer plan. But it's all basically the same type of governance. You have a governing board of Medicare that has for decades decided what's been covered and what's been not. And the moment that we allowed them to start deciding over the doctors, this diagnosis code is approved, this diagnosis code is not, we allowed this to happen. So it's already in place. It's about how can we get people off of their individually financed plans, which is what we're going through now. And the second phase is how do we get them off of their employer plans? How do we roll that concept back? And I think that's what we'll see between now and 2016, is if that happens or not. Will people be pushed enough to push back? You know what I mean? If you're only going to see a couple $100 a month increase, things like that, most people will just take it. They won't fight back. But if it starts to be a lot of money and people have to drop it, or employers, massive employers have to drop health benefits altogether, then you'll see single payer much faster, because people will just buy into anything.
Yeah. They're going to be almost sent to that area almost. It's almost forced there in the fact that there's not going to be another reasonable option to be able to take other than that option. And, when somebody's sick, that kind of changes. For some people, it changes their principles, and they're going to go, well, I didn't like Obamacare, but I'm sick now, and these guys are going to be able to do this, and so I'm going to take advantage of the system and just go in there and get that done. Now, there's also been a lot of talk, and I think we talked a little bit about this last week, but I wanted to bring this up again with you on Friday, is Iran. Have you looked at what the deal was that was brokered by the United States in Iran, or the multilateral talks that they had? Can you go into some of that? Do you know a whole lot about that?
Well, and what I haven't researched, what I'd like to research is what the details and what is needed to create an EMP. And especially as I spoke to a couple of experts and kind of nudged us in that direction. I think the problem is our press and the PR still speaks of the dangers of Iran as a nuclear program. And so we have some sort of Cold War impression of Iran and what they're trying to accomplish. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I myself was somewhat misled by that perspective. And I know it is still a threat to Israel, but I think the bigger threat here is what nuclear material needs to be fired in a missile so that it can be detonated in the atmosphere, which has the impact of an EMP. I don't know the details, and what I'd like to research is trying to get solid evidence on the restrictions that have been put in place and the limitations that have been in place. Is that still enough to limit them from having that capability, or would they still be able to detonate that type of missile over the Middle East, over Israel, or potentially get it in the hands of someone to detonate it close enough to devastate, let's say, the west coast of America, which is really where we're at risk. We're not really at risk on the east coast, but if you got something in North Korea, can they get it close enough to California, Hawaii, and all of that to detonate the? Because any of those type of detonations would be a financial disaster, and that's really what the fear really is. The John McCain, Lindsey Graham, John Bolton, fear-mongering, all that is just so old and tired, and I'm just even shocked that anyone even pays attention anymore because they don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
we can go to their quotes on Egypt to prove that, right? They didn't know how bad Egypt was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, be honest with you, it was those guys that ended up getting the Muslim Brotherhood installed.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what's destroyed our relationship with Egypt right now. Our situation in Egypt is really, really bad because they're instituting a police state with incredible restrictions, fine, and jail time for protesting improperly, not following the rules. Things are worse now than they were under Mubarak in that regard. So I don't expect this regime to hold power much longer because they're not going to tolerate that. Now, the sad part is the United States have completely lost all of our leverage. We have no say in anything because we were financing the Muslim Brotherhood. So the foreign policy has finally bit them in the backside when it comes to Egypt. Now, Iran, the problem there is it's just, there's a lot of cloak and dagger for us to know what's really going on. I don't know enough scientifically that I can speak on if the restrictions and stuff will make a difference or not. I think it's a little bit, it is interesting to say this. What happens now? So if they don't follow the rule, what do? Put the sanctions back? What do? So we've backed ourselves in the corner with many of these foreign policy arrangements that all we're doing is kicking the can and making it much worse for ourselves down the road at some point. Because even if it's not an Iran problem today, they're not going to last 20 or 25 years before they start to be more adventurous and do something else that we, quote, don't agree with. Mm-hmm. So that's where it puts us in a precarious situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It puts us in a precarious situation. In watching the build-up or the new build-up on the Iran and the Iran aspect of things, are you seeing it as the mainstream media or the media in and of itself is pushing that this is inevitable, or do you think that they are trying to not push it? What do you think that they're trying to do when it comes to how they want to manipulate the public with the Iran debate?
That it may be. That's all they care about. Just get the ratings, create some sort of fear. They don't really care about left or right in that regard. You just need to know that Iran is dangerous, and just the spin of that, and then allow the politicians to banter and cover that a little bit and have experts on to banter back and forth about whether we should or whether we shouldn't, whether they will build a bomb or they wouldn't. And that's really all the media is going to do. They don't bother to do any real serious in-depth research to see what Iran is really capable of and what are the real requirements of an actual weapon that's actually dangerous and things like that. So again, to me, that's why we have this Cold War perspective of Iran, because that fits more of the model that they're creating rather than digging right into what are the real risks.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when it comes to the local races, have you kept up with District 13 at all, and Lucas Overby and Alex Sink and David Jolly, and have you kept up with that race at all?
Well, we did an interview with Lucas Overby. No one else has contacted us back about an interview yet. That's where we're at. Other than that, we'll be waiting for the Republican primary to play out a little bit to see who the third candidate will be. As far as that, we'll just kind of navigate through the holidays and the first of the year, and then I expect it to really kind of be a foot on the gas type of thing, because we headed right to a special election, and then of course another election in the fall.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I guess last question is, when it comes to you had the exclusive interview with Lucas. I know you've interviewed and watched libertarian candidates in the past. And this is going to be kind of a weird question, and I know it's totally loaded, and I'm totally leaning with it, but are you noticing an uptick in the quality of candidates coming out of the LP?
Well, I think, I don't remember if we talked about this on air, we talked about it privately, but I think Lucas definitely has a demeanor that is coming across as being more appealing and digestible, not to any one group, just right or left, Democrat or Republican. He tends to be handling himself well by discussing short-term and long-term goals. So it's not, I think libertarians can get caught in the trap sometimes of scaring someone off. You get into a topic of, let's say, abolish the IRS. Well, that's a big process. That's a very long-term goal, because you're not going to get Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate that are even going to have those conversations with you. And the voters know that. So he's done a good job during our interview of articulating that, of really starting to get into, listen, this is what I think we can do, short term. This is what we need to do long term. This is where I stand on this. This is where I stand on that. But he also has more of a moderate expectation goal. How's that? That's a better way to explain it. He has more of a digestible and a really appealing sort of explanation of how he kind of thinks the road should go. And I think that's been all the topics that we discussed. We only discussed about 3 or 4 topics, but I would like to talk to him again and get into some more, maybe some social topics and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing, we did have a listener to the show give a comment about the first thing that we were talking about here, and I always want to make sure that I read that. I'm not going to say who it was, but so you mean to tell me that Florida gets the people that are not good enough for New Jersey? And with big question marks, and he says Uruguay is looking better every day. So, just to give everybody an idea, like the ones that are embarrassed on the way Florida is are now looking to go even further south, possibly a new continent.
When you're saying that you weren't good enough for New Jersey,
yeah, for Jersey,
like that says a lot.
That does say a lot. That does actually say a lot. His name is Brandon. The website is The Global Dispatch. It is at theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me. And remember, talk hard.
Talk hard. All right, Brandon. Nice. Always nice. Always nice with Brandon. It's always enjoyable. And he has been on it for a long time. And I got to tell you, Brandon really is the kind of guy that when he does the interview, he will not tell us what we want to hear. He will tell us what his opinion is.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that we've wanted to have him on for so long. Well, we've had him on for so long is because of the fact that he gives it to you, even though that when it comes to the ideology, he's with us, but he will give you what his perspective is as a pundit, not what he wants to see happen. Right. And I think that's probably a trap I might fall into even more than either one of you fall into. But I think I probably fall into that trap more, is that I want something to happen, and so I'm going to talk about it that way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm biased in that aspect.
I think you do. I think you show a little bias in things, but it's just everybody has the different tactics of doing things, and you can show a little bias, like even in your questions, like you question a little in a
Yeah, I always try to do a lead up to it.
yeah. But but Brandon's great. I mean, Brandon is this is how I feel about it. And when he interviews someone, he's very fair. He looks at it from all sides. He doesn't he doesn't do like bias questioning when he questions people. I mean, he's very kind of cut and dry, and this is the way it is, and then he reports the news. I think as a news source, what Brandon does and what the Global Dispatch does is really, there's no spin. This is what happened. It's the facts. This is the news. If there's any kind of opinion in it, they put it in their opinion section so that this has opinion in it as well as facts. So, I mean, I think that as journalists, they're very, very honest, which is something that you're not seeing enough of, anywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely 100% correct about that. And again, like we said, in the District 13 race, and we wanted to make sure we brought this up, we're going to be talking about the District 13 race a ton here. We are going to attempt to do an interview with every one of the candidates that are running for this office. Is that we're not going to do just one, we're going to do all of them. But we're only going to do the ones that don't have challenge. Well, I guess we could probably get involved in the Republican primary one and interview all three of those people if you wanted to. But I'd rather just interview one Republican. Like, I'd rather wait till they win, till one of them wins the primary to have to interview all three, because it'll get. Well, and I actually don't think we'll get any of the Republicans anyway, though.
Well, who you'll probably get is Bircher.
You might get Bircher.
Because nobody is, I mean, that poor guy is just, we always, and I feel bad for him because we always talk about the libertarian media blackout. But this guy has gotten, I mean, I had to search just for his name.
Well, yeah, and some of that is those candidates' fault, though. Some of that is the candidates' fault. I don't put all of that on the media, but I will say this: you see this in the Republican primaries, though, pretty frequently, that the establishment choice is the one that gets the play, and they're like, well, he's going to be the nominee. So they discount those people, whether you're in the Republican primary or not. Matter of fact, I would argue that more people that run, if you're a libertarian, big L libertarian, and you switched over to run in the Republican primary, more than likely that's how you're going to get treated. So you're still going to be treated like you would if you were a libertarian. It's just that you don't get to compete in November. You can only compete in August.
Well, I think this has a lot to, when they have that argument, well, you have to do it through the Republican Party. Well, why? We watch these people do it through the Republican Party, and you don't give them any credit either.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Hey, well, hour number 2 is in the bag. Hour number 3 is coming up, but you can only hear that on the 1787 Network on the YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and go the 1787 Network, make sure you put the in the 1787 Network. You can actually find our channel, subscribe to it, and then also you can watch us live on the podcast there. But this hour, like I said, is in the bag. The website, 1787network.com. We'll see you guys next week.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground, hour number 3, otherwise known as the third hour. If you would like to call the Refresh Telecom lines, the number is 1-800-525-4032. That is 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom. They won't give your information to the NSA.
And that's reason enough just to go with
I don't have I have no other commercial line for them other than to say they won't give your information to the NSA.
I mean, I actually think that, as far as telephone service goes, they're actually cheaper, they're more reliable, they're a great telephone company. But still, I think the best selling point is they're not going to give your information over to the NSA.
Yeah, even if it was choppy on the other end, at least you know that they're not going to give the information over.
I don't care if the person on the other end can't hear it, as long as the NSA can't either.
That would be a good commercial for them. Does it really matter if the other person on the phone hears you? No. They can, though, because it's a very good, clear signle. So
it is,
we're not saying that it's not. It's a very good, clear signal.
They actually have amazing service, and they actually are more cost effective than anyone else. They're cheaper, they're better, they have great customer service, they're very dedicated, to making sure that their customers are happy. But even if that wasn't true, they don't give your information to the NSA.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And maybe if Trey Radel would have used them, maybe we would have been a lot better off.
Well, and I have to say, and I said this in the first hour, my one thing political that I am thankful for is Trey Radel and the fact that he just keeps talking.
Yeah.
Because this is just comedy gold. And it's comedy gold before you even have to put any spin or comedy on it. You just have to read the quotes.
Yeah. No. Read one of the quotes. Start the laughter now.
Just so that people know, Trey Radel was he actually pled guilty to possession of cocaine in Washington, D.C. The first excuse for being on cocaine was that he was an alcoholic. Apparently, he didn't understand the difference between alcohol or cocaine. But the second excuse now, and this is great, and I'm just going to read the quote. Obamacare is horrible, and I found myself desperate for an extra boost, Radel admitted in a statement released today.
In a statement?
He wrote it down.
He wrote this down.
Okay, but it gets better. But wait, there's more. Obviously, I never would have turned to drugs had it not been for the way this legislation is destroying the very fabric of our great nation.
Wow. What? You know what? This guy was a radio show host before he became a congressman. I would argue that this guy's been a politician his whole life because it takes a politician to be able to come up with some crap like that.
But this is even better. It is clear that the judge understood the stress that I, and indeed the whole country, feels under Obamacare, Radel said. That is why I received a soft sentence. People who are struggling under socialized medicine should not be treated too harshly for their mistakes.
This is the...
So wait a minute.
What a hypocrite.
Obamacare is going to get us reduced drug charges, reduced sentences on drug
Hey, look,
charges now?
if anybody's listening to this show and you get busted for drugs, you need to use the Trey Radel defense. He has set a precedent, and we'll see if it works.
I'm just so stressed about
Yeah,
Obamacare.
it's Obamacare.
I had to do blow.
I had to get on the blow. I had to smoke that crack pipe because look, man, Obamacare's killing us, and I have to do this.
That is now Trey Radel gave you the best drug defense ever in the history of man.
Exactly. But on the line with us that may have a differing viewpoint or the same viewpoint or whatever viewpoint this person has on the line, Adrian Wiley, candidate for governor.
This is Karina.
Oh, it's Karina? Oh, I thought you said it was Adrian.
No. You are the most horrible lip reader ever.
I am bad at lip reading. I thought he said Adrian.
Hey guys, so I don't want to run for governor.
Yeah. All right.
You have a great candidate.
And you know your dealer, right? You know your dealer, don't you? Like, you're not going to pull a Trey Radel or anything, right?
Are you stressed
No,
about Obamacare?
I avow all drug use. I don't have any comment on that. That's
Okay.
what I'm going to say.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. You're not too stressed out with
I'm good
Obamacare?
with whatever anybody wants to do as long as they're not hurting anybody. I love the nap.
There you go. Hey, I'm sorry, Karina. We were totally talking over something what you were going to say, but what were you calling in about? Did you call in to say hi? What you doing?
I'm just calling to say hey and thank you guys for all your help with the Lucas Overby campaign and let you know how excited I am about tomorrow. It's going to be a feel-good event.
Yeah, and Karina's heading this thing up on Saturday, or one of the people heading it up
Which
on
we
Saturday.
talked about in the last hour, and
Yeah.
all three of us are going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Awesome. That's awesome.
all right, cool. All right, Karina. Well, unless you had something else that you wanted to add.
Well, did you guys go over what David Jolly's people are saying about him knowing where the bathrooms are and where the parking is, so we should elect him?
Hold on a second. What
Is he taking advice from Trey Radel on public speaking?
hold on. So explain what you meant by that. So what is the Jolly people saying about why we should vote for him?
Well, it did come straight from his campaign. It came from somebody that highly supports him, and I think that's where his office is. And it was on his Facebook wall, and he's like, David Jolly knows where the bathrooms are and knows where the parking is, so he'll be able to walk right in and continue with Congressman Young's legacy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great reason to vote for him. Holy crap, keep that up.
Are they admitting that Bill Young only knew where the parking lot and the bathrooms were while he was there?
Yeah,
that was the only job he was actually doing?
The legacy was I knew where to go to the bathroom and where to park the car. That's the legacy.
If that's really the best you have to offer in your campaign to convince people to vote for you, you really shouldn't be running. You're wasting our time.
I think that Trey Radel and Jolly must be using the same publicist.
Maybe I don't know.
I think so.
They're probably using the same dealer though, so we're probably
That
good
is
there.
true.
It's probably going to come out, later on that this guy was totally in with it. He had a Coke night with Trey. Him and Trey did the white powder evening. When they're dreaming of a white Christmas. It happens to be that way. And this is the funny thing about the Jolly campaign, though. They are doubling down, tripling down on this experience thing.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Look, the one thing that Republicans seem to be able to be somewhat decent at times is certain kinds of messaging where they wouldn't make this big of a mistake, especially for a guy that's been up there.
They haven't been talking to the voters. I heard him speak at a meeting, and he basically said he's not going to run away from the Washington, D.C. insider thing. So, that makes me a very happy camper.
Yeah, look, I hope he does. I mean, again, that's going to, if anything, I think that thing will cost him more than anything else will cost him. I can't even see Republicans getting that worked up to go out and vote for a guy that's a Washington insider. I mean, we saw what happened with the special election up here in Pasco County, and it was for a different seat, mind you. So more's on the line.
Right.
And I don't think Jolly's nearly as bad of a guy as Gunther was. Even though, again, it's probably because I don't know him nearly as much, but
Right.
But it just seems to me that the insider thing can't be a good thing to run on right now.
Congress has a lower approval rating than cockroaches.
Yeah.
How can you say being a part of that system is a good thing?
Yeah. I mean, I guess keep saying it, Jolly. I mean, whatever. But, man, it is one of those things and to see other people that have been with us, and Karina knows who I'm talking about. I think she's talking about the same person, is that, like, you should, out of everybody, you should know better. The money is not trumping that. It didn't trump it up here in the special election, and it was $1 million to $100,000.
Yeah. 10 to 1.
Yeah, 10 to 1 on the money. You think that's going to work in this election when you're not going to? I mean, you really have to churn the base out to get them to vote. Man, I just can't see this. I can't see this happening. Correct?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch, and we're just going to keep our feet on the ground and keep talking to the voters. I mean, the Lucas Overby campaign's been talking to voters since February, and that's what they want. They want someone to listen to them.
Yeah.
And to know that they matter.
Yeah. And to remember to vote on March 11th. And to remember that you vote on March 11th. Because it ain't a normal day of voting. We got to make sure that we're getting as many people to the polls as possible because every vote's going to count in this one. All right, Karina. Hey, well, we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye, guys.
All right, we'll see you later.
See you in the morning.
Karina Morrison, by the way.
Who is not Adrian Wiley
who
in
is
any
not
way.
Adrian Wiley.
She is so not Adrian Wiley.
Yeah, she is not Adrian Wiley. I have met Adrian Wiley, and she is not Adrian Wiley. Oh man, I still am shocked at this David Jolly guy running the way he is. Like, if this works, and he does win this thing, we may have to leave the country.
Uruguay.
We may be Uruguaying it right off the bat.
Uruguay.
We may be Uruguaying it right away. Because if this works, it really is one of those things. It's like, no way does this thing work. Like, a lobbyist gets elected, you obviously have no problem with lobbyists.
I mean, and like I said, to say something as stupid as, well, I know where the parking lots and bathrooms are. And it's like that's your argument?
Yeah.
I'll get a map.
Yeah. Hold on. Those two pieces of information you will be able to find out in one day.
In any visitor center, they give you a map with pictures.
You could make a phone call.
Aren't they supplied with pages? Couldn't he just ask his new page, "Hey, where's the bathroom?"
Exactly.
Well, that would be the kind of uptraining that we can't afford right now. We got to make sure we get somebody in there that knows where the bathrooms are from day one.
He could be lost down the halls of Congress.
Yeah, because you guys just do it on the House floor.
Yeah, I think it's much more important that you know where the snitches are when it comes to your drug buys. But that's just me. Call me crazy, but it's much more important that you know that piece of information right there.
I'm sorry, but Trey Radel, your Obamacare excuse is such a, I laughed so hard. I was like, and as I'm getting through the statement, I'm reading it to Alex going, no, wait, it gets better. Hold on, you got to hear this.
Yeah. Trey Radel, to be honest with you, I remember when he was first going to run for that office. I actually, and again, I did an interview with him when he was a radio host and I was running for office, and it was a very good interview. I thought Trey did a great job there. So I didn't have a problem with Trey Radel when he won the election. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, there was somebody else I would have preferred, but it was really close in the preference there. But when he went up there, he's made some pretty decent votes, but he's made some horrible votes too, though. But just to look, here's the thing: why can't you just admit it? I like Coke. I did some Coke. I got caught. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
Yeah. When you say, like, I needed an extra boost, like, you're not talking about, like, you drank too much Red Bull.
Yeah. Get a Fire Air Energy, guy.
Get a coffee maker. I mean,
do something, But I got to do some blow? And then to go, the judge understood it because of Obamacare? Like, really?
Can we use that argument to just end the drug war now, please?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's okay.
Yeah, he's actually, and that's the thing. Trey Radel has made the argument in his thing of why we should reduce all the sentences should be reduced to nothing because he got nothing.
Right.
There's two sets of rules. He's a part of that now. And again, he didn't tell the truth even in that statement. That statement was a lie. It's clear that the judge was going to let you go because you're a sitting congressman.
Right.
How many people are sitting in prison on drug charges right now who are driven to drugs because they were forced out of their home was foreclosed on, all because of the bad deals that we were talking about last week?
Yep.
So why shouldn't they get out of their drug charges?
Everybody is dealing with stress. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and says, like, wow, my life is great. Let me do some drugs. Like, heroin seems good now.
Yeah.
I got nothing better to do. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to get me a nice, healthy heroin
I'm
addiction.
going to get on the H, man, and hook it up, man. I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, boy.
I mean, it's always, most of the time when, you have, especially, excessive, when you're a drug addict, it's generally, extra stresses in your life that kind of pushed you down that road or something like that. You're dealing with something else. So for him to say, like, Obamacare was just so horrible that he had to go to drugs and, and then, of course, he probably had to think of another excuse because his first excuse of, well, I'm an alcoholic was, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
You didn't get caught drinking, you dummy,
Well, the funny part is here. Okay, hold on a second. So you mean to tell me that the drunk, the alcoholism excuse was so bad that you had to go to find one, and it was almost impossible to find an excuse that was worse than that. But yet Trey Radel, in his infinite wisdom, actually found a way to make the alcoholism story sound more palatable than the story he came out with the last time. Like, I'd rather believe the alcoholism story than it was Obamacare that made me do it.
Yes. When you say I was an alcoholic, so that made me do cocaine, and that's the smarter answer out of all your excuses, that says a lot about you.
And you wonder why people are leaving that party.
And you wonder why cockroaches have a better approval rating than
and
congressmen.
You're wondering why. But we have said, but Danielle did find an article that talks about, and it's on. I think it's on Breitbart. Is actually where it's at.
Yeah, but it was a study. It was actually a study done by Frontier Lab, which is, and Breitbart was just did publish the study. Frontier Lab actually did a study on why people are leaving the Republican Party, because people are leaving the GOP at a very quick rate. They're actually watching their numbers go down, pretty. Listen, they're still a major party. They still have, tons of members and, millions of people in the party, but their numbers are going down at a faster rate than it's ever seen before.
Yeah.
So, I don't want anyone to think that all of a sudden the GOP has no people in it. That's not what I'm saying, because I know I'll get the hate mail saying, no, we still have tons of people. It's going down, because I get that hate mail all the time. But it's actually going down at a faster rate than they've ever seen in history. So Frontier Lab did a study going, why are people leaving the GOP in such a fast rate? And the biggest effect that is making the biggest thing that people are saying, and they call it disaffiliating with the party, was this lesser of two evils argument. People are so upset about the lesser of two evils argument that the GOP constantly makes that they're literally leaving the party over it. What they're saying is that, this whole people in general, Republicans in general, are sick of being told, well, you have to vote for this guy because the Democrat is so much worse. And then when they work hard and they get this person in that they don't like, they held their nose to even, vote for this person, and then they do the same things as the Democrat, or in some cases worse, they're getting upset. And they're basically showing this, and they did the study, and it says a lot of Republicans, and the people that they studied, 67% of them had said that they have always been a Republican. These are not people who switch from party to party to party. The 67% of the people studied have always been a Republican. And overwhelmingly, when they were asked why you left, they said that they had no hope in the party anymore because the lesser of two evils argument has failed, that their politicians have failed, that this falsehood that you have to vote for our guy because the other guy is so much worse is just a lie. And they're starting to see that this is a lie, and that's why people are leaving. They're literally leaving because of the GOP's, you have to vote for my awful guy because that awful guy over there is more awful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not running on real issues. I mean,
Right.
and it's been going on for quite some time. And even when the Tea Party movement first happened, like when it first really started coming to fruition, I guess you could say, when it started really forming up, is that what happened was that those politicians just changed their talk track, but only partially. And then they moved it towards those people, but then they kept going along with their recs, kept going along with this mantra of, well, it would take too long to do it any other way, which is still one of those arguments that they have. It would just take too long to try to reform a new party because that's why we got to reform the Republican Party. And I think the one thing that you did, Danielle, you put out an article about not being able to work together. Mm-hmm. And in that article, you had mentioned the prior attempts to take over the GOP in the past and how all of them have been an utter failure.
Yes. So
the only real option here is with a third party. And so what we have to do is make sure that enough people understand that and start doing it, because it's not working the other way. And it's only obvious by David Jolly. And David Jolly has proven the point.
And it never really works the other way because the Republicans were the new third party that formed when they couldn't change the Whigs.
Right.
Yeah.
It never really works that way. It's not that it hasn't happened ever, but rarely can you ever change a party around. You have to form a new party.
Yeah. And that is what happens. I mean, listen, they try to reform the Whig Party, which is why the Republican Party formed, because people started looking at the Whigs saying, there's no help for you people. I can't work with you people anymore. And that's when, of course they said it in, better words than that because it was the 1800s, but, and that's what we're starting to see now. People and longtime Republicans, these are people who have always been in this party. And we've heard this at meetings because we know many Republicans around Pasco because we do a lot of stuff in Pasco. And we've heard by more than a dozen people in different instances, where we're just eating dinner or, whatever. And they'll turn to us and say, I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me.
Yeah. Well, and this is where it comes into the horrible part is that you have some of these people, and again, you have some of these people that are associated with the Tea Party that are really kind of disgusting human beings, that even though the issue that they may be talking about the specific piece of legislation, they may even be right on, but it's because of they're such a disgusting human being that it makes it difficult for us to even agree with this person on this subject. And the reason I'm bringing this up is there's a Republican, this woman, her name is Danita
Cullen.
Yeah, Danita Kilcullen. She is a person that is part of the South Florida Tea Party, I think is what it is. Is that she basically said that the Republican Party in Florida is being taken over by gay thugs.
And what she's referring to is the log cabin Republicans.
Yeah, the log cabin Republicans. So this woman who's supposed to be about limited government and constitutional principles and stuff like that thinks that the Tea Party the Republican Party is being taken over by gay thugs.
Right.
And again, here's the thing. This woman is as ugly on the outside as she is on the inside. I mean, just considering she's a pretty ugly individual, and so she's ugly both ways. This is what, and this ain't the first time she's done this. So Danita voiced her sentiments in an email about Republicans in Broward County denouncing log cabin Republicans and the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which she said would force her to hire. And again, this woman is not hiring anybody, just for the record.
Right.
Which said she would force her to hire someone with orange hair, body, neck, face covered with tattoos, multiple piercings, or a man in a dress, for that matter, a demonstrative, effeminate male, or
It says demonstrative.
Oh, demonstrative, effeminate male, or purposeful, butch-looking female. To be honest with you, I don't know what this woman's talking about. She's a pretty butch-looking female herself.
Yeah, she is actually. But to call that, a male who's, shows more feminine qualities, or a female that shows more, what society would call more male qualities, but to call that demonstrative, and that's what she called it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just reprehensible as a human being.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows what a bigot she really is.
Oh, yeah.
If you have tattoos, if you have piercings, if you appear to be gay, if you have an appearance that she does not approve of, she wants nothing to do with you. She wants to disparage you and demean you. So why would you want anything to do with that kind of person?
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing, too. First off, she's one of the co-founders of the Tea Party Fort Lauderdale. And this is not the first time she's done this, but here's the other thing. When it comes to this bill that she's talking about, the Employee Non-Discrimination Act,
Which I'm against the bill.
I'm actually against the bill. Here's the thing. I think as an employer, you have the right to choose who you hire and who you don't hire. And you can not hire somebody for whatever reason you don't want to hire them for. If you don't want to hire dudes in dresses, then you don't have to hire dudes in dresses. It's your decision as the owner of the company what you want to do, in my opinion. Now, I know we don't live under those laws as it currently stands, but that's, in my opinion, is the way that they should go about doing it. Whether I agree with them or not, I don't agree with them. I think that you have to hire people based off of the merits of
their
if they can do
skills.
the job or not. And I wouldn't care if the dude's got a dress or not, even though I probably may not put him out in a sales position going down to a conservative area because he's not going to get any sales. Leave him down in downtown St. Pete. Maybe he'll get more sales down in that. I'll pick the area differently, but I don't want the government making that rule. Do you disagree with that, Greg?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I can already see problems arising from such legislation. Just the easiest, quickest example, you look at a restaurant like Hooters. They obviously have their shtick and what they do. They have...
Which I love.
They have hot women, barely dressed, walking around serving food.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. And
we're all in agreement here.
With a law like that, a guy can come in and say, well, you have to hire me as a server.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Hooters is not Hooters anymore.
I don't want to see a guy.
Hooters would go out of business if they changed that.
And they would. And that's the thing, is that you have a certain persona or a certain image that you want your business, that you've put all the risk for, that you've, put all the money into. You have a certain image that you want that business to portray. And you have the right as the business owner to do that. Now, listen, there's going to be plenty of places for people to work that, maybe that's not the, they don't, the image that they have isn't, a very public one or something like that, where it's not going to hurt them either way. Or maybe that is their image where, we're inclusive of everyone. But that's up to the owner, the one putting in all the money, the one that takes the risk of losing everything. That's what the owner does. I may not frequent a place that would be run by, and I know that I wouldn't frequent a business that was run by a bigoted person like this woman.
Yeah.
But that's how the free market solves that problem of discrimination.
And this is the other problem, is that what I want to make sure that people understand is that this woman is a disgusting, vile pig, is what she is. Mm-hmm. And that in no way, because we're both against a bill.
Right.
So legislatively, we're both not in favor of this bill.
But for completely different reasons.
But for different reasons. It's more of a property rights issue for us than it is anything else. And this despicable person, and again, I can't think of all the bad names I want to say to her, but I have a ton of them. Because this is one of the women is the reason why when we have to go to the left, they can point to crap and they blame us for this stuff. Mm-hmm. Because of stupid... And this woman she is definitely a bigoted, and she's a racist, She's a homophobe. Like when they say that, when they go, these bigoted, racist homophobes, normally they're not talking about people that are bigoted, racist homophobes. In this instance, they're totally talking about somebody that's a bigoted, racist homophobe. Like she's a disgusting human being. She's filth. I mean, again, she's the co-founder of the Tea Party of Fort Lauderdale. And if the Tea Party of Fort Lauderdale has not come out with something to denounce this woman, then your entire Tea Party is fair game to be labeled as a bigoted, racist organization. Because she's the co-founder of it. She ain't regular member. You as an organization need to make a decision at this point to actually say this woman does not represent our views.
And if you're in Fort Lauderdale and you want a good Tea Party group to go to, because there is one that actually competes with this one, it's the Broward County Tea Party, who is inclusive, because we've been there. They are inclusive of all people from all parties. They do good work. They're involved in their community. They're involved in the local politics. And I have never met a nicer group of people. So if you are an actual just honest, Tea Party person, conservative person, or whatever, and are looking for a group, do not go to this hateful, evil woman's group. That's the Tea Party Fort Lauderdale. That she is an evil, just disgusting human being. Yeah. But there's a great group for you, and that's the Broward County Tea Party.
Look, here's the thing. You want to know why you can't reform the Republican Party? Because she's embraced. Yeah. She's embraced in the Republican Party. This kind of individual, and again, this is not the only time that she's done this, by the way. So just no way, shape, manner, or form is this the first time she's done it. Kilcullen has been active in local Tea Party efforts since its founding in 2009, but has previously courted controversy when she was arrested in 2011 for allegedly kicking a police officer with a 3-inch stiletto high heel. The Tea Partier told the Broward Palm Beach News-Times the run-in with the law came because she was fighting injustice and trying to use the bathroom at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Boca Raton. Okay, so the injustice was that they wouldn't let you into a private place to use a bathroom? The police said she appeared intoxicated, so she was out there drinking,
boozing it up,
and began screaming obscenities at security protecting a private function at the hotel. After a scuffle, police said she resisted arrest and kicked a police officer twice in the chest with her spiky heel. She pleaded guilty to trespassing and a lesser charge of misdemeanor resisting arrest in October 2011 and was sentenced to 20 hours of community service. Then in 2013, she was accused of racism when she responded to a tweet by R&B singer Toni Braxton after the acquittal of George Zimmerman for Trayvon Martin's murder. She says, I am too embarrassed to, this is her exact
Toni
quote.
Braxton.
Yeah, Toni Braxton's quote. I am too embarrassed to be an American when our government and society fail to empower and protect all people, Braxton tweeted in reaction. And Braxton, in all reality, was wrong in that one, but we'll go down that one another day. I mean, she's half wrong. Kilcullen took her personal Facebook account in a message aimed at Braxton. Yo, girl, you can't take America's justice system. Yo, girl, you can't take America's justice system.
Go be an African.
Go be an African. Which, again, that thing in and of itself, I wouldn't necessarily say is like, it's the little things in there that show that this woman's racist, though.
Yeah.
Here's my biggest problem with this is I'm sure there are leftist media outlets who are getting a hold of her quotes and portraying her as a libertarian.
Yeah.
And if they haven't yet, they're going to.
And they're going to.
Yeah.
And she's the furthest thing from. I mean, listen, am I against the same bill? Absolutely. Because I think that if you were to take all the restrictions and regulations off, I mean, it comes into a property rights issue with a business owner. That if you're putting up all the capital, you're putting in all the risk, it's you that's on the line. If you lose everything and go out of business, you have the right to make the decisions for your business for whatever reason. Now, I also have the right to not frequent your establishment if I think you're a lousy person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And here's the thing. Look, at the end of the day, you're never going to get rid of people being racist or bigoted or sexist or homophobe.
No.
And I actually don't think there should be any law against any of those things. As long as you're not infringing on the rights of another, people are free to do and believe as they see fit, as long as they don't infringe on the rights of another. But what it does mean, though, is that we have the responsibility that when these things happen, that you call it out. And that's why this woman needs to be called out. The reason I wanted to bring this up on the show today was because this woman is not a libertarian. She's not a small government, limited government person. She's not a constitutionalist. She's not even a decent human freaking being, for Pete's sake. She's an ugly person that is you know what it is? She's a mad person that's like Archie Bunker mad.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, she's Archie Bunker mad, but instead of staying in her house, which she should have done, and not really expose the world to her idiocy, she decided that, well, I'm so freaking stupid that I don't even know how stupid I am, and I'm going to go out there and let everybody know how stupid I am. And that's what she did. So, Danita Kilcullen, you're a disgusting human piece of trash, and I hope that the media from this point moving forward just ignores you. Or when you go out there, make sure you tell them that you're a Republican. It will get people over to the LP even that much faster. You freaking pig.
Yeah.
You know what would be even better? If the people in the Fort Myers area go and
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort
Lauderdale.
Lauderdale, sorry, in the Fort Lauderdale area, go and take over that Fort Lauderdale Tea Party
Well,
and drive her out.
No,
You'll
no,
never
no.
do that then.
I hope-
Go join the other one.
Yeah,
Make them go away.
I hope that the Fort Lauderdale Tea Party loses so many people over to the Broward County Tea Party. You know, that all the good people, the people who looked at her comments and went, oh my gosh, you know, that's horrendous. That's disgusting. Go over and leave that group and go over to the Broward County Tea Party where there are good people and just let that group die on its own, because that's what we should be able to do. We should be able to say, you know what? I don't want to be associated with a disgusting person like that.
Yeah. One other thing, too, and this is a message for the log cabin Republicans.
You're in the wrong party.
You're friggin' morons if you think you're going to change the GOP. What the hell's wrong with you people? You know what I'm saying? I thought gay people were supposed to be intelligent. You guys are acting like a bunch of dummies. Can you get the clue here? Get out of that party. They don't like you. They don't welcome you there.
Yeah.
You know, and now if you're happen to be like a gay neocon, then stay over there because that's the one that'll be
if you're looking to
closest
bomb
you.
people.
Yeah, if you still want to bomb brown people, then stay over in that party. But if you want, you know, equal rights for everybody, regardless of their sexual orientation or skin color, obviously, from looking at this woman, Danita, the co-founder of the Tea Party Fort Lauderdale, you need to not be in that party. You don't belong there. You know, don't go to the BREC. Get the heck out of the BREC. Go join the LP. At least here's the thing. At least the LP respects you for who you are.
And Broward County has a tremendous LP affiliate.
Yeah,
down
they got
there.
a great LP affiliate
They do
down there.
great work down there. I mean, some of the best people. And I mean, really, and I always look at the log cabin Republicans. And like you said, I mean, if you're looking to just bomb everyone all over the world, then you don't belong in our party. But if you believe in fiscal responsibility and, you know, and the economics issues that the Republican Party talks about and does nothing about, but you also believe in having, you know, equal rights and, you know, equality under the law, you're in the wrong party.
Yeah.
Like, they don't agree with you. They hate you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those, it really is one of the just disgusting things that is going on. Matter of fact, this woman is now officially being blocked by me on Facebook. She has two different ones, too. And she's got Tea Party Fort Lauderdale. Oh, this isn't an active profile? That's weird.
Huh.
That's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I mean, it just goes to show, I mean, the Republican Party is just on this track of, and they don't see that they're killing their own party. You know, with you know, people saying things like that, I mean, just evil and disgusting things that she said. And, you know, this whole, you know, vote for our horrible candidates because they're better than the other guy's horrible candidates. And, you know, and they just keep doubling down on this talk track.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even like anyone's having a meeting going, hey guys, you know, this kind of ain't working for us. And even when we're throwing all the money in the world at it, we ain't winning. Like, maybe there's a problem here that we gotta fix. You know, they're like, no, the problem is we don't do it enough. And you know, I mean, and that's the people who take up the extreme social issues, you know, like Cuccinelli in Virginia, who, you know, wanted to ban blowjobs, and, you know, and then you and you had a few of them over, even in the 2012 election cycle, you had a few of these very extreme social views from the Republican Party, and they all lost. And the argument was, well, they're better than that guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I always feel, and I say this a lot, someone has to earn my vote. You have to be worth my vote. And I just won't vote in that in that race if nobody earned it. Now, generally, I can always find someone who earned it. And whether that be a third party or an MPA candidate, I can always generally find someone who earned it. But if I can't, I don't vote in that election. I just don't. It's, you have to earn it. And the whole, well, this guy is marginally better than that guy over there, doesn't earn it.
No, not even close to earns it. Not even close. And again, this is, look, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know that we will call our own out every day of the week. We totally will call our own out. But there's a reason, not just because it's fun, even though it's fun.
It is fun.
To call out everybody. It's, there's always a little bit of enjoyment to that. But it's also because you want it on record that you oppose these things. Mm-hmm. You want it on record that does not represent you. And sometimes silence is consent.
Yeah.
It's an argument that you would make for a lot of people that don't say anything within the GOP. It's the same argument that you would go when it comes to people that don't say anything about the LP if there's problems, or about people that, if you're in a Tea Party group and then there's problems. Because there's a lot of things in Tea Party groups that I like. There's a lot of Tea Party groups that I like tremendously. But when it comes to people like this, this is so ugly. You're such an ugly human being for acting this way. And here's the thing, getting all drunk and getting arrested because the cop wouldn't let you use the bathroom.
Because you weren't respecting someone's private property rights.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand. Look, if you get pulled over by the cops and it wasn't your fault and you're not doing anything wrong, and the cops give you a hard time and you resisted arrest, I can understand that. I can understand that.
But when you're trying to break into someone's private property because you feel like you using the bathroom is more important than their right to own their property.
Yeah, you think you're entitled. This disgusting piece of trash thinks she's entitled. And that's the problem. But that goes with a lot of those Tea Party Fort Lauderdale people, though. I've run into these characters before. This ain't the first dumbass. I've seen other people, and they all act the same way.
Yep.
They all act this way too. They got this attitude like I've never seen it before, and they think that their shit don't stink and all this other kind of stuff. They give the rest of us a bad name, and you guys need to clean your house out. Because what you guys represent is not what's going to save this country. Matter of fact, you guys represent the problem.
Well, and I always, back to like the, this lesser of two evils argument, and they give us these horrible, disgusting people to vote for and then say, well, it's better than that person over there. I can't live with myself if I fight this hard for a certain set of principles, but then vote for someone who doesn't hold them.
Yeah, you abandon everything. It's like, well, it's nice to talk about it. I can go up there. And that's the thing, too. You know what? We did that event. You remember that event we did? It was in the middle of the state, and you had everybody get up and do that.
Yes.
Do you know what pisses me off the most about that stuff?
What?
Is that all of their words, in my opinion, are completely hollow because of who they vote for.
Yes.
It's that you can get up and complain and bitch and moan and say that this country's going to hell in a handbasket all you want. And to be honest with you, I'd agree with you. The problem is that you don't agree with yourself.
Yeah. If you vote for the same evil people that have gotten us here, or the same type of person that got us here, I don't care what you say you stand for, because your actions say something completely different.
Yeah, because they will talk all up and down about how we got to get back to the Constitution and then vote for Romney.
Right.
Like, the guy that created the healthcare system that you're so freaking pissed off about is the guy that's running against Obama. And if you voted for Romney, then two things are at play. One, let's see how I can say this, and I want to make sure I say it the right way.
Without breaking a microphone?
Without breaking a microphone, too. I'm not even saying that, look, Obama is without a doubt horrible, disgusting.
Probably the worst president in history.
And if you quietly, out of your own personal fear, voted for voted for Romney, but you didn't say anything about it because you knew it was wrong and you knew you didn't really want to admit that you did it, I can understand that. Again, I understand the limitations that other third-party people have when it comes to running for president, and that given the presidential scenario, if you decided to vote for Romney at the end of the day, I don't really I mean, I have a problem with it, but not a severe problem with it. If you admit it, it's a whole different level. Once you are publicly saying it and publicly supporting them, it brings it to another level. It really does. But look, everybody can find their way, though. And that's the good thing, is that, look, just realize what you did was wrong and start doing it the right way. I've forgiven everybody that voted for Romney. Everybody that voted for either Romney or Obama, I've forgiven them all. I forgive y'all, right? But what are you going to do now? You know, and if you're doing the right thing now, then all is good. If you're continuing down the same path, then I'm going to use your vote against Romney against you.
And if you're in Florida and you're going to vote for Rick Scott because there's some fear that Charlie Crist is more evil than Scott and that's why you can't vote for Adrian, then your words mean nothing.
Well, that and you don't know facts.
Well, yeah, and you don't know facts.
Based off of that person's argument, it would actually make more sense to vote for Charlie Crist.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing is that's, you know, we yell a lot and we get loud and we can be insulting and we can, you know, get a little rude in certain instances, but because you want to shake people and say your argument is just stupid because you can't tell me I believe in smaller government. I want to get back to the Constitution. Our country doesn't have time for this and we have to, we're on the verge of collapse. So we have to fix it right now. But I'm going to vote for Rick Scott in Florida. Yeah. Because the fear of Charlie Crist is just too much. The same guy that you voted for in 2006, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the same guy that you probably said, well, the fear of the other guy is too much,
Bill
so we got to vote for Charlie Crist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the argument that, I mean, at a certain point, if you don't realize how stupid that sounds, I don't even know what to tell you anymore. And then I really don't know what to say to you.
And when you turn to me and say, well, how can we work together? No, I don't work with dumbasses. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't have the time nor the patience to work with morons.
Yeah.
My time here is limited. Then.
Yeah. and I will tell you this. I said the thing about the Romney thing where all will be forgiven and stuff like that. In the Rick Scott one,
it won't.
If you this one is a line one.
This is a deal breaker for me with a lot of people.
You have a complete Republican control of the state House and of the state Senate and the governorship right now, and they have done nothing good up in Tallahassee. Nothing. You can argue with the fake unemployment numbers all you want, which shows you're a hypocrite for doing that anyway. But if you don't support and vote for Wiley and you're out there supporting Rick Scott, I don't want anything to do with you from this point moving forward.
Yeah, this is a big deal breaker for me because if you tell me that you're on the side of liberty and that you just want to return to the Constitution, but you will give me the lesser of two evil argument in Florida and not support Adrian, I not only don't trust you, I think you're an idiot. I question your sanity.
I question your honesty.
And I question your honesty because there has never been a time where that argument is this is the dumbest race ever to use that argument.
Well, be honest with you, I would have more appreciation for people that were Crist supporters that would use that.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in this race, if you're going down the lesser of two evils argument, Charlie Crist is the lesser of two evils.
Well, and they're still completely evil. And I'm
not voting for either. I wouldn't vote for Charlie Crist.
Vote for either one.
And I didn't vote for Rick Scott in 2010.
No, I didn't either.
I voted for Peter Allen.
Yeah, I actually think I did as well. And I didn't.
He got a lot of votes. He actually got 100-something thousand votes.
Yeah, and I didn't vote for Crist.
Pissed me off. I only got like 27 or something. 27,000. Not 27 total. 27,000. Like I was watching Peter Allen's numbers on election night, and he saw his at 100,000, and I was like, oh yeah, I did way more than he did. I'll definitely get more votes than that.
Yeah.
Not even close, man. It pissed me off. I was like, damn it, man. How did Peter Allen? I almost didn't want to vote. I wish I could have taken the vote back. I was like, damn it, you then. If you, I wouldn't do that.
I didn't vote for.
I liked Peter.
I didn't vote for Rick Scott in 2010. I didn't vote for Charlie Crist in 2006. But I always look at these people, and you know how dishonest you look when you say, well, we can't have Charlie Crist. You know, that would be horrible. Oh, you mean the same person that you supported in 2006? You mean the same person that you used that same argument to support against Bill McCollum?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Those people are so critical of Democrats, and they're doing the same thing the Democrats are doing, because the Democrats are falling in line behind Charlie Crist.
Oh, yeah.
There are people that I know personally who were vehemently against Crist and badmouthed him up and down all day long. but they're good little Democrats. And since he's their candidate now, they're posted on Facebook how much they love Charlie Crist. And this morning, he was somewhere, I think, St. Vincent's Hospital for Thanksgiving, and they're posting the pictures of him there and how great a man he is. And I'm like, man, 8 years ago you hated this guy and you were very vocal about it, but now all of a sudden you're falling in line, aren't you?
And I do have to say, I feel the same way about Democrats that are falling in with Crist as I do Republicans, getting on the Rick Scott bandwagon.
Oh yeah, no. If you're a Democrat and you post something that's pro Charlie Crist, screw you. You have no principles whatsoever.
Because in 2006, you were the same person saying you have to vote for Bill McCollum because Crist is evil.
Yeah, because you called Crist evil.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to side with evil,
yeah,
I got nothing for you.
You're exposing yourself as nothing but a partisan hack. You're an automaton. You have no critical thinking skills. You do not think for yourself, and you are useless. You are a cog in the machine, and you are part of the problem.
Yeah. Look in the mirror. Yeah, when you're
absolutely.
looking for the problem, just look in the mirror. And that goes for people the Democrats that we're going to get behind Charlie Crist, and the Republicans that say we're going to get behind Rick Scott. You guys represent the problem, and there's it's funny how it's got even of a clear example of how close these parties end up becoming.
Yeah.
Where all of the back and forth fighting is not real.
Well, basically, both parties will get behind a Republican governor that legislates like a progressive.
Yeah. They both will. And again, there's time. There's time, people. There's time. You can change your evil ways and make it count. And that is by supporting and voting for Adrian Wiley for governor.
WileyForGovernor.com.
WileyForGovernor.com. And here's the thing. You're probably going to find one or two things that you don't agree with Wiley about. I completely understand that you will. He's not evil. Vote for good. Vote Wiley.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, and he will even admit, he's honest when he answers. A lot of times you go and they say, well, when I was at this meeting, he said, the Rick Scott said everything I wanted to hear. And when I was at this meeting, Charlie Crist said everything I wanted to hear. That's because they know the meeting that they're going into, so they tailor their speech to the people who they know are going to be in that meeting.
Yeah.
Where if you ever hear Adrian talk, he doesn't give the exact same speech. I mean, he uses different words, but his stances on the issues are his stances on the issues regardless of what group he's in front of. Because if anything, even when you disagree with him, even when you say, I don't agree with you on that issue, at least you knew he was honest, because he could have pandered to you and he could have told you what you wanted to hear, but he told you what was honest. And that in and of itself is more than what you have with anyone else running in this race.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. Very, very true. Are
you looking at Black Friday?
Well, I wanted to. We won't be able to do the video, the audio on this week, but I do wanted to do. They did, Mark Dice. You guys know who Mark Dice is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mark Dice went out and he basically was shaming Thanksgiving shoppers lined up with a megaphone. He was wearing a Santa's outfit, going around and shaming people. I mean, look, man, Mark Dice is so funny sometimes, man. This guy. I understand why he acts the way he does, by the way. I really do, so I don't want to say that.
You think we're jaded and mad.
Oh,
he's way beyond,
he's way beyond us.
Look, this is a guy that walked around with gold coins, willing to trade, what, $20?
$20, yeah.
$20 for a gold coin, and wouldn't get any takers. Yeah. Like, it was a real, U.S. Mint gold friggin' coin. And nobody would take it from him for $20. This guy has asked people to go out and sign.
Why doesn't Mark Dice come to Florida and do that? Wherever we are.
Well, he's in California, man. It's just as bad over there, man.
No, but I'm saying where we are, because I'd give him $20 for a gold coin.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's just when you watch this, man, you're just part of you is looking forward to the economic collapse at that point.
Yeah.
Part of me is actually looking forward to it now because, we've done so much that, damn it, we suck.
Quite frankly, there are more things that I see that make me just go, let it all burn, than make me go, I need to change this.
Every once in a while, and all of us do this when you're doing what we do, because it's not like work, I'm going to join the Republican Party and I'm going to be rich working in politics. That's what happens to those guys. Same thing happens to the Democrats. Not us. Man, we become poor. It costs us money.
It
to
costs
do
us
this.
money to do this stuff.
So when you look at, man, I used to live a good life and now look what I'm doing just to try to save the country and nobody will listen. And you have those days where everything is just, you just got a bad day. And you get home at the end of the day and you're like, I can't wait till the whole thing collapses so I can smack you in the face with it.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's one of those things where after you see some of these articles out there and what some of these people are doing, you're just like, oh man, you're never going to learn, man. The only way that you guys are going to learn this is with the actual collapse.
When you go to the grocery store and you get the sticker shock of bread being $32, I'm going to stand next to that loaf of bread going, dumbass, I've been telling you, I tried to tell you, you moron, this is what you get.
Yeah, exactly. And if you come to my house looking for something, I'm just going to shoot you.
Exactly.
Once at that point it's broken.
We won't even be here. We'll be in another country by then.
We'll be in Uruguay.
I never did think that I would be a person that would say that, but now I am to the point where I do have a finite time left.
Yes.
Of trying to change it, and if it is not proven effective at that point, then
We're
I'm
done.
out. And when I'm out, it's not like I'm out of the movement. I'm leaving the country.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'll go somewhere else. You guys have screwed this up enough. Which there are probably some people that would really like to see me leave the country a lot sooner than later.
There's some
on
other
both
people.
sides. There's bipartisan support for my expatriation, and for yours.
There's bipartisan support bipartisanship listening to the show, going, oh man, if we just put this train wreck on a little higher speed, we get rid of Snicker.
Yeah, we can do it quick.
We just got to drag this out a little more, guys.
Yeah.
We don't even have to do anything. Just drag it out.
Yeah. Like I said, man, just give me enough money to go to Uruguay. Just give me enough money to go to Uruguay, man. I'm down. I'm down like 4 flat
Our family
tires.
is packed up and ready to go.
I'll get packed up quick, man. I'll go down. I don't care if I can't speak the language or nothing. I don't care. It's good. They have what I need.
¿Dónde está el baño?
Yes.
Where is the bathroom?
Where's the bathroom?
Más cerveza, por favor. More beer, please. Those are the only things you need to know.
Where's your marijuana? Where do you guys sell the weed at?
And that you can ask in English.
I think you can ask that in English.
Can get the smoky. Uruguay is legal now, so completely.
So you may not even have to ask. Just go to the store.
Well, you still got to ask the guy at the store to sell it to you, though.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work in Uruguay just yet. I've been there.
I'd like to go and find out.
The first thing is required is to go take a trip down there. You got to take a
we have to
vacation
take,
down
like, a
there.
little vacation to Uruguay.
And it won't be cheap. It ain't like you can't drive to Uruguay. I mean, technically,
you
you
can.
could.
Technically, you
It's gonna
could.
take a while. though.
That's a
You
long
gotta get
time.
through Mexico to get there.
You have to get through a lot of countries to get to Uruguay.
I'm just saying, you got to get through Mexico.
Mexico,
You have to survive
Panama,
getting through Mexico.
Ecuador,
Yeah, you gotta get through a lot.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to go to Venezuela.
I don't think you might not have to go through Venezuela.
I don't know, but you got to go through a lot of
You gotta
places.
go through a lot.
You may not make it. You may not make it. So just take the boat or a plane.
Or a plane.
Yeah, you can take a plane.
No, I got to take a boat.
Well, we'll have to take a plane to we'll have to take a boat to another country, and then
What
take
about
the
a boat plane?
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing, Danielle, and I'll just say it like this: you may have to end up getting an ID
That will
to
not
get
Uganda
Uganda
That will
citizenship.
not help the airplane issue.
Well, I know I understand that won't help that issue, but it'll help you getting the Uganda citizenship.
Oh yes, I may have
not-
to get a license for that.
Yeah.
We're not going to Uganda. It's Uruguay.
It's
Oh,
Uruguay.
Uruguay. I'm sorry, Uruguay. I get those two mixed up. I hope they don't move
All the
that.
time.
And I'm not. And again, I don't want this to sound racist, but I ain't moving to Africa. It's too hot in Africa, and there ain't nearly enough lights on. I've seen the lights in the maps at the end of the night and stuff. There's not nearly enough lights in Africa for me.
It's Africa.
It's the dark continent, and I don't like it. You know, and that's not saying dark because there's black people there. I'm saying it's dark because there's not a lot of lights because you guys don't have any freaking power. You know.
He's more of the issue of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't care what your stance is on marijuana.
He needs electricity and internet.
I need electricity, internet, and a bowl. I'm good. After that, we can go. All right, guys. Hey, another week's in the bag. Another week coming up. If we do move to Uruguay, we'll still keep the show going.
We will.
1787network.com. Go to our YouTube page and go to the 1787 Network. We'll see you next week.
Push up.